Welcome, everybody, to Crunch Time with Jeff, Booner, Lucas, and Mike. Another great episode.
Let's go, baby.
I'm fired up. We're one more day removed from the Super Bowl. More off-season content, boys.
One day closer to the NFL season, the next year's NFL season.
That's fresh off a mock draft Monday.
Oh, man.
Fresh off a mock draft Monday. I'm fired up. How the boys feeling tonight? How we feeling?
Great.
Beautiful.
Man. It's going to be another great Tuesday show. Great to see the fellas. Great to see the chat. Get it.
Eduardo, welcome everyone to the show. He says, "Yeah, in the right corner." We want
how does that work?
Listen.
Why am I in this corner? I don't like this.
I don't decide the boxes. All right. I
think it's who gets.
Jeff doesn't know much about box.
Okay.
I think it's who gets into the stream first, and I think I was the first one here today.
Jonathan, Anakin Skyogre, first two in the stream. We appreciate you guys. As always, Lloyd, Shift
Shout
God,
out the fellas, man.
Yeah, everybody. We got Adam Baydoun in here as well, tuning in. My guy, my brother, he's tuning in. Vincent Ellison, almost that time. Crunch time. It is that time. Shout out to you, Vincent, for tuning in. Robin's Nest, Freddie Felt 313. Again, Phil, the same ETN. I mean, the religious guys, the religious viewers that we appreciate, the guys that are in here every single night. Before we get to the meat and potatoes of this whole thing, which we will be going through and giving out season awards later in the show, which I'm excited for, to kind of get everyone's opinion on that. We will be going through some things, updates with the Lions. Of course, they signed Matthew Betts, the CFL star. CFL star. Yeah, I said that. CFL star, which we'll be going through and breaking him down. Of course, gritty. Everything you want in a Lion, right?
Did you guys all watch the film?
I saw that he had 18 sacks in 18 games.
The dog, man.
We're bringing up the film. We'll bring up the film.
Yeah, we'll go through the film. We'll break it down. I mean, we'll get our own thoughts on the signing itself, but. We also are going to break down, at least have the discussion, not necessarily break down, but Justin Fields to Chicago. And just should he, if you were Ryan Poles and you were in his position, would you trade him or would you keep him? And I think we all had kind of our own thoughts here. And I also have some breaking news, some insider news that I was made aware of one CJ Gardner-Johnson. And we're going to break that down later.
Interesting.
I don't know what you're talking about, Jeff. So I'm
9 o'clock. Yes, I have some insight there. I think the people are going to want to hear this, at least in terms of whether they should re-sign him or not, and the likelihood he'll be back. But first, guys, before we get into Lions-related stuff, Kyle Shanahan, I think this was on brand for our show, at least. He was asked yesterday, or I think it was yesterday, the narrative about how he can't win a big game. And he was asked directly about this. And I want you guys to react to his response because you know what? We talked about it yesterday. Me and Booner argued a little bit. It was fun, but let's hear from Kyle Shanahan about the narrative.
What I know about football and stuff, and I know if I fix perception, that means I did everything I wanted to do, which isn't fix perception. It's win a damn Super Bowl. But I also know, like, when you say big games, like, we've got to win a bunch of big games to get to Super Bowls. We've won a lot of big games here. We've won a lot of big games to get into playoffs. The fact that we keep getting there shows you how much we've been win games or big games, and I think you guys are aware of that. But it's, these 2 Super Bowls have been tough, losing to Kansas City. But to think that if we win that means I can win a big game. No, that means our team won the Super Bowl. That's what I understand. You guys can have any narrative you want, but like the success or the failure, it comes down to one game. And I hope that I can be a part of a team that wins a game at the end of the year. But to say that the Niners can't win a big game would be an extremely inaccurate statement.
Hey, there's Shanahan asked directly, Booner, about the big game there. Which, like, I get, like, he has to win a Super Bowl at some point. We agreed, like that's already that's a thing we all believe in. At some point, he has to, and I think at some point he will. And of course, it stinks when you lose in the Super Bowl twice, 3 times if you count him as a coordinator. So yeah, it's unfortunate. But when people, that's why I had to come correct yesterday. Not saying that point is wrong, but when I was saying, Booner, is people like overreact and say like he'll never win a big game. He's incapable of winning a big game. Like that's when in your side of it made sense too. There's like two extremes. There's like the defend Shanahan blindly, and then there's the attack a guy for one of the greatest 7-year stretches, an impressive 7-year stretch for a head coach. So
yeah, I think the stretches, that's kind of where it's like, yeah, it's been a great stretch. I don't think, and the only reason, and we talked after it yesterday too, is the only reason it kind of gets me a little riled up is because there are the people who are like ignoring the fact that he has lost 2 Super Bowls. So I do think there's that side of it as well, but they have won big games. They've been in the Super Bowl how many times now, or twice now, and they've been in the NFC Championship game multiple times outside of that. So he's one of the best. Jeff Saturday went on Pat McAfee today, and he even said the same thing I think we all talked about last night, is at the end of the day, he's still one of the best in the NFL. He's one of the top 5, if not one of the top 3 coaches in the NFL right now. And that's just what it is at the end of the day. Like, he is still one of the best there is. And Jeff Saturday broke it down very well. I don't know if you guys saw it, but when he kind of broke it down, he was like, hey, the only mistake that he really made, like, he did everything he could. The only mistake he made was probably not going for it, or not running the ball on that 3rd down and then going for it on the 4th down with Patrick Mahomes on the other side. That was probably the only thing he said he felt like in overtime he messed up on Sunday. I don't know if you guys saw this as well, but Shanahan came out exactly, Lucas, what I was explaining to you yesterday about taking the ball first so you get the ball to win it. After if Mahomes kind of does that, Shanahan came out and said that's what he was thinking. Jeff Saturday went on air today and said he did the right thing by doing that. He said he called a couple analytic guys, he called a couple people within his NFL circle, and they all thought Shanahan kind of went about it the right way by taking the ball first. So then Mahomes has to match you, and then you get the ball to win the game to end it. So he played the game right. It's just like, at the end of the day, it's if you just don't win the Super Bowl, man, that's where that does hurt. At the end of the day, like, you have to get the job done, and I think eventually he will. I do think eventually he will.
No, I do agree, and it's just good from his standpoint to kind of like take up some accountability in that aspect. Obviously, he didn't make any coaching moves that really brought them out of the game or really affected it in that type of way. But for him to rise up, kind of take some accountability, and knows that he still has to get over the hump is probably the biggest thing. Obviously, they have won big games. He's correct in saying that to get into the playoffs and in the playoffs, but he still needs to get over that hump, and just showing the accountability. And he knows it more than anyone else that the 49ers need to get over that hump and finally win that big game, get in the Super Bowl and win it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no denying it. Everything you guys said spot on. I still disagree about the Booner thing, and I just like Jeff Saturday brought up, you can look at what Dan Orlovsky brought up, because all those analytics, what they don't take into account is Patrick Mahomes. So that's where it just breaks down to me. But
that's why you do make that move, though.
Kyle Shanahan, no, I understand. I said that yesterday. But Kyle Shanahan, I can see John Lynch stressing out towards it. Like, at first they're laughing, but you can see John Lynch, he's over there. He's kind of stressing out a little bit, because I think Kyle, he realizes that he needs to win, but I don't, and he knows he needs to win now, but I don't think he realizes the importance of winning within the next 2 years, because we talk about the window that the 49ers are in. So that's why all this criticism, in my opinion, is coming right now, because it's like, man, you have this roster for so long. They can only keep feeding you for so long. So I do think he needs to win in like ASAP.
Yeah. So that comment. And I want to say, just on the Kyle Shanahan stuff, like, I think we can all agree, and we kind of agreed yesterday, he's got to win a Super Bowl at some point to be up there with, like, if you're talking Andy Reid, like that category. Absolutely. But you can't discount the success he's had in only 7 years. Fair?
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah.
Okay.
At some point, you have to get the job done.
And you know what?
So
there is truth to that. I do also want to bring this up, because we discussed it yesterday, which was a lot of fun. Me and Booner got into an argument, which seems to be happening a lot recently, but it was a fun argument. It was about Hassan Reddick, which Lucas actually initially brought up, and Lucas made some great points, which we have a clip about that discussion on our Twitter at @OfficialCTPod.
Check it out.
Yeah, Hassan Reddick came out and absolutely just shut down those rumors. So that is no longer on the table for the Detroit Lions. And here, I'll remove this so you can read it. Jordan Schultz just spoke to Eagles All-Pro pass rusher Hassan Reddick, who tells me he never requested a trade and he wants to stay in Philadelphia. Quote, I would like to get an extension done here at home. At no point did I ever tell the organization I wanted to be traded. Quote again, Reddick has 1 year left on his deal with no guaranteed money. Quote, this is home for me. I was born and raised here. 2 of the most fun years playing football in my life came here. I cherish being an Eagle, end quote. And that was per Bleacher Report and Jordan Schultz. So at least that idea, boys, it is no longer an idea. But the basis of the discussion stands. Like that, I still believe, and we kind of agreed, Boone, like yesterday, and I know we kind of had the discussion. Like, you can't just I agree with drafting because Brad is so elite at it, but especially Brad's proven ability to find people in later rounds. I don't think discussing a trade in the future or a trade that's going to come in the future, whether it's in the offseason or midseason, should be off the table. I think this team, when you're in a Super Bowl window, should strive to improve. And a free agency, yes, it helps, absolutely. But also trading for players helps. And I think both of those avenues is what the Lions are going to explore moving forward. I do, because speaking of Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers, they've made moves and they've been at the top of the NFC. The Eagles have made moves. And now people would look at the Eagles now and be like, well, you know, they had regression. But like even Hassan Reddick, they made a move for. Like, so moves are a must, not to overdo it and potentially risk, hurting your future. But as long as it's smart, yeah, I'm all for it.
I think that's the biggest thing, especially with Brad, is like if it's a smart move, like going out there and giving up a ton of draft capital for a guy. I don't know what Hassan Reddick would have been. We talked about maybe a third or a second, but like just giving up draft capital, which he's very, very good at using. That's where I was a little bit like, hey, I would rather him not do that and just keep drafting and keep building what we're building for long term. I do think the side we do agree on, and I think a lot of people do agree on, is at some point, whether it's a trade now or in the future, or if it's like a big signing, Brad will make a move, because you have to, like, you are right with that, Jeff. Like, you do have to add an elite pass rusher with Aiden Hutchinson or an elite corner, or you have to make a move. You can't just keep drafting, and like your rookies aren't going to always do kind of what they did last year. You're going to be able to produce and get rookies to produce, but obviously, like this year, you have way less picks than you had last year and less capital. So at some point to fill in these holes, you're going to have to make kind of a move that's going to blow it up a little bit and kind of be a shocker. I just didn't see it coming with this Hassan Reddick one. And as well as I don't even know if he does it this offseason. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Brad Holmes doesn't do one of these big moves. I think he does possibly sign someone big though, but trade, I don't know. Can't see it. I'm still on that. I think we kind of agree on that as well a little bit, but
yeah, I think for Brad, he's an elite talent evaluator. He's an elite draft expert, and just in general. So, like, you don't want to take ammo away from a guy like that, but you're not taking all the ammo. Like, just a couple rounds. That's all. Like, you still got a majority full clip. Like you're good, and Brad has found elite talent. So that's where I'm at. It's not about trading a first, but again, like, you still have free. I'm not even talking about trading. I know that's what the discussion has been on, but I'm talking about free agency. I'm talking about ways to improve this football team. It's got to come in different ways besides the draft. But
real quick, my bad, fella. Just real quick. I'm going to keep going back to, it's like the trade deadline went with the with Chase and all of them. Like, it's the exact same thing, to where if Brad doesn't feel like it's like not going to benefit, why is he going to do it? And that was why I explained to you guys with the Hassan Reddick yesterday. It's a big name and it sounds all good and so nice, but like at the end of the day, if Brad doesn't feel that, don't force. There's no need to force just because, like, hey, Super Bowl time here, time to make a big trade, you have to do it. Let's not force it. It's the same thing with the trade deadline this last year.
Yeah,
no, I don't agree. Go ahead, Gentry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. And that's kind of what me and Booner were saying yesterday. It's not that they're not going to go out and address the position. I just never seen Brad giving away his own capital to go get a guy like Hassan Reddick. I do think they need to address the defensive edge position as well as the whole defensive line. But I just don't think he's really going to give away his own capital to go do it when he can go do it in free agency and give out a contract that he thinks is favorable and is content with for the future. It's not saying that he's going to go out and make the biggest splash signing. It could be, could not be, just like Booner said, but I think he's just going to do it at his own terms rather than going out and giving away stuff.
And I do agree with you guys. We don't need to act like anything's forced, but at the same time, I think giving away draft capital at this point, at where the Lions are at in their window, where they're at like a win now mode, at some point you have to stop banking on young talent just guiding you so your future is sustainable and add talent. And you need to go out and get a guy because a lot of the times trading for a guy is cheaper than going and signing somebody out in free agency. So if you have to sacrifice a second or third round guy to go get a 4 or 5 star player, I think that's what secures the Lions' window for the next 2 to 3 seasons. So at some point, I do think it's smart for Brad to go trade for somebody because it's immediate need that you can fill rather than signing. And I'm not saying signing is a bad option, but I just think if you look historically at all the really good teams that have won a Super Bowl, right before they win a Super Bowl, they trade for someone. And they don't trade for just an average guy. They go out there and they get a dude. And I think at some point, Brad does have to do that.
Who did the Chiefs trade for this year?
They didn't trade for anybody like this year or so, or say, but like if you look back when they got Kadarius Toney, you can say what you want about him now, but when they traded Kadarius Toney for, I believe it was a 3rd round pick. I could be wrong. He was a huge part in that Super Bowl run. If he doesn't play in that Super Bowl, they don't win because he had the return and the touchdown. If you go back and you look at the Rams, they have Jalen Ramsey, Matthew Stafford. You go back and look at the Patriots. Randy Moss, I know he wasn't that guy, but they always traded for guys. They never had 1st round picks. They're always in the 2nd and 3rd rounds. You can go back and look historically. A lot of those teams, they make trades and they make them frequently. I'm not saying Brad has to make them frequently, but at some point you got to make a move.
This is kind of where I'm at with it too. Like if you want to use the Chiefs
Taylor
as an exception, like go ahead, but they also have arguably the greatest quarterback.
Yeah, but who carried them this year? Their defense did, and they drafted all those guys.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yes,
I'm not saying that but I'm just saying it's, hey, Brad, like he just went to the NFC Championship game without making these big trades. I don't think it's like you guys are making it sound like you're never going to win a Super Bowl if you don't make a trade.
No,
I don't think that's the case whatsoever. I think you can keep drafting and you can bring in free agents as he's done, and you're able to kind of go out there and still compete for a Super Bowl. He's proven that this year that he built the team out through the draft and free agency, and I don't think it's like a must. Like everyone during the trade deadline was saying he has to go out and get Chase Young. He has to go out there and get these guys. And like there was literally people who were like, season's over. And guess what? They had a 17-point lead in the NFC Championship game. And he didn't make he made a move for who was it? Donovan Peoples-Jones, who didn't touch the field in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So like that's like it's like you don't have to do that. Like that's like, to me, it's reaching a little bit, saying like, hey, if you don't make a trade and you have to keep making all these trades to stay relevant, I don't think so. I think if you can build a long-term success, like obviously the 49ers went and got Christian McCaffrey and Chase Young, but like the Lions almost went to the Super Bowl and beat them, and they didn't even have to do that.
Yeah.
Yes, but and we can, and I know you're talking about trading versus free agency, but we can, to me, we're grouping trading and free agency together. Like I'm talking about just additions in general. Like you have to add. That's just.
I think free agency. Yeah. I think Brad, like last year, showed with David Montgomery, CJ Gardner-Johnson, like you can win through that, and I think that's something this year he looks at. Instead of giving up capital, it's, hey, we can look at the free agent pool. We can build our own guys. We can draft.
But here's the kicker, right? Versus this year past year versus next year. This past year, I know you were, but not everyone, and I give you credit for that, but it's not like it was a consensus this team was going to be in the NFC Championship game. Next year, it is a consensus they're going to be at least in the NFC Championship game. So if there's a flaw on this football team, the demand for acquiring a player will be there because they know what's at stake. Like this year, like you could say, well, the Chase Young thing was ridiculous. Yeah. But if it was next year and they needed an edge and you felt like that was the missing piece, like you're damn right. We'd all be pounding the table to go at.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised this year if he does make a trade. Like,
so that's so we agree there.
I think if he does make a trade, it will be towards the end of the season, not at the beginning of the season, like trade deadline time. Obviously, I think right now he's keeping all of his picks and signing guys that he wants to sign for contracts that he wants. And then if he thinks there's that missing piece along the line that they need to add, they need to address the defensive line, they need to address the offensive line, he'll do it then. I just don't see him. He's not going to spend his draft picks. He's been so good through the draft, unless it's really he finds a diamond in the rough, then he might. But I'm really content that he's going to keep those.
Speaking of a diamond in the rough, and depending on who you ask, the one they call Justin Fields over in Chicago, the quarterback of the Bears. And I know I think I've been aligned with Booner, and I don't, at least with your Fields takes. Like I don't think Fields he's an elite runner. Like he is as talented as they come. He's one of the most explosive players just in general. But I think at this point, if you're the Bears, and I know it's been like a big conversation, should the Bears trade Fields versus keep him or draft Caleb Williams? Like you guys know how I feel about Caleb Williams and how great I think he'll be. I know everyone's calling him the next Ryan Leaf. It's that is absolute.
I haven't even
blasphemy.
Heard
that is blasphemy. And maybe you can laugh at me if he is. I guarantee I can be confident. I can say this confidently. He will not be. But the question I have for you guys, is what do the Bears do? Like, if you're I know Saturday made a point today, Jeff Saturday, and he was talking about how they should draft Caleb and keep Fields. And like, I don't think that scenario is on the table. And I see these, this graphic here that was put out on PFF, and it was the Fields to the Steelers odds that I can't remember what app it was on, but I'm going to put this up before like all the discussion, at least when it first opened up, Fields to the Steelers, it was plus 550 like that. Those were the betting odds for Justin Fields to be the next Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback. Recently, those odds are it's their favorites. They're crazy. And here's the graphic right here. It is minus 125 for Justin Fields to go to the Steelers.
That's wild.
I think the reason it switched was just the Schefter comment. I'm pretty sure. The Mike Tomlin thing, to where he said Mike Tomlin's a big fan of Justin Fields, and I think that kind of changed the odds where everyone's like, "Oh, Mike Tomlin's a fan." They're moving on.
I'll tell you this. I mean, for Fields, he's better than Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Huge upgrade for the Steelers.
I went at Justin Fields a lot the last year, and I'll stand on that. But to me, for the Steelers, like with the defense they have and some of the weapons, like I think this would actually be pretty good for the Steelers with Mike Tomlin. Like with Mike Tomlin as your head coach, like I do think this is good. And Arthur Smith is the OC now there. Like I'm pretty sure before all of this, when Arthur Smith was with Atlanta, I'm pretty sure he wanted to bring Justin Fields to Atlanta. So now he's in Pittsburgh, and now it's, hey, Arthur Smith wants, I think he like kind of sees something in him that he can he feels like he can work with. And I don't know. I feel like that's a huge upgrade for the Steelers. I think it's a massive upgrade over.
Yeah, 100%.
Now here's
it's definitely a fit, but they need to address that offensive line if they're going to do so, because you have TJ Watt, you have Baltimore Ravens and John Harbaugh's defense, and even you could say what you want about the Cincinnati Bengals, but they have dogs over there as well. So that's a tough division. He's going to be playing in bad weather consistently against proven teams. They need to make sure that they re-insulate that offensive line outside of Broderick Jones, who they took last year.
Yeah, I'll just, guys, like the Bears selfishly keep Fields, like trade the pick, like selfishly. But if we're thinking objectively, Ryan Poles, this could be a decision if he doesn't make it. I mean, the
make
Bears
or break his career.
Yeah, he would be fired. Like that's how that would go. Because look at what the Bears have passed on at quarterback in the past. Look how many times like even Mahomes, ironically enough, the Super Bowl champion, a guy that I think they drafted. That was the Mitchell Trubisky draft, I believe. They took Mitchell Trubisky, who was just cut, by the way, by the Steelers, ironically enough. The Bears have missed at quarterback consistently. And you have an opportunity. It's not even your pick. It's the Panthers' pick to draft a guy that I know he's being compared to Mahomes. I think that's ridiculous, but I do think he will be really, really good. You have an opportunity to get the best quarterback, in my opinion, in college football. Number one. And you still have another first-round pick. Like, this is a franchise that's trying to turn around. You get to reset the rookie contract, which Fields is almost due for a contract extension. And to be honest, like, this will set you up. And Ryan Poles came from Kansas City, right? He's from Kansas City. He was around Brett Veach and what Brett Veach did and his draft success in drafting Mahomes. They should draft Caleb. And if people want to say, well, if Caleb goes to that environment, he's going to have no O-line. It's a bad situation. Guys, he has DJ Moore as his number one wide receiver. He has Cole Kmet. Like, they drafted a left tackle last year. If it's that bad, sign a veteran. Let him just take the hits. Let him just kind of get completely destroyed. And then groom Caleb. And let him come along and then eventually start. So that's how I feel about the Bears. Get Caleb Williams. You'd be dumb if you didn't. If I'm Ryan Poles.
No, I agree too. You get Caleb Williams, you reset the rookie contract, just like you said, and you have all those picks from the trade. You can build, you can add to the offensive line. You can get another weapon on offense. Obviously, you have some guys on defense that you have to re-sign, Jalen Johnson and whatnot. But you sign Montez or traded for Montez Sweat. So you're slowly but surely putting the pieces back together. And like you said, the rookie contract, you have that for another 4 to 5 years. And that's going to be key. And you've kind of, I don't want to see you've seen the ceiling from Justin Fields, because I think he's been in a terrible situation and he could elevate himself on another team like the Steelers under Mike Tomlin. But it's just time to reset it. And there's no better guy to reset it with than Caleb Williams. Like you said, the best college quarterback and, it's been a little bit. So I don't think there's any reason that you would stick for Fields like going into next year when you can get this much return for him and get a great quarterback like Caleb Williams.
If the Bears pass on Caleb Williams, it would not surprise me whatsoever just because of Chicago Bears. But in all reality, trading Justin Fields away gives you the protection for Caleb Williams. You can do whatever you think. You draft Caleb Williams, and then whatever you think that next offensive need is, you take it to solidify it. It's a no-brainer. I think they don't do it. They're completely overthinking it. It would cost Ryan Poles' job, to Jeff's point, so it's a no-brainer, and everything you guys said is spot on.
I do think too as well, like all bias aside, like outside of being a Lions fan and kind of obviously all of that, if I'm the Chicago Bears, the right move at the end of the day is to trade Justin Fields, like you said, Jeff, and take Caleb Williams. Like, to me, he's the better quarterback. I mean, you're on already going into year 4 of Justin Fields, and you haven't really won anything, and that to me, it hasn't felt like they've taken any steps forward at all. And I said it last week as too when we talked about the Bears, is at the end of the day, like, they already messed up by not firing Matt Eberflus at the end of last year. Like, going on and keeping him, like, that was step number 1 of messing up and burning down the fort, to me, in my opinion. So I think, like, if you want to keep ruining things and keep kind of just being mediocre and staying kind of right here and not kind of taking that step, then keep Justin Fields. But I think if you want to actually start going in the right direction, like Ryan Poles, like, if you want to become a legit GM, go get your quarterback and go get Caleb Williams and start your franchise. And I'm sure by the end of this year, Matt Eberflus is going to be gone as well. And you're going to go get a new coach. So I would hate it as a Lions fan, but I think, like, if we're talking just like as a football fan, the right move at number 1, just go Caleb Williams, trade and get assets for Justin Fields, and look what you got last year for that first pick. Go out and get some assets, but you have to go Caleb Williams. Like, you have to. I don't see how you don't, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'd be shocked.
To me, it's a layup, and you nailed it, Booner, with like Matt Eberflus. Like, what the hell are we doing? Like, and you guys know how I feel about defensive head coaches, unless you're a hell of a leader and play.
Especially if you're drafting a quarterback number 1 and you knew you were going to have the number 1 pick. Like, yeah.
I mean, you need. And that's the benefit of having an offensive coach, is no matter what coordinator is hired away, you have the constant. You have the guy that's the brains. Yes. You have the guy that stays. That's why Shanahan and Sean McVay, and I think Dan Campbell, we'll see. We'll find out a lot after Ben Johnson leaves. I have confidence he will be that. He's more offensive minded than people give him credit for, but we shall see when Ben departs. But regardless, the Bears, man, this is an easy layup. And while we're on the topic of Fields and quarterbacks and kind of tying it back to the Detroit Lions, the 33rd team came out with their quarterback ranking list, which this one was. And you guys can just kind of react to some of this, and we'll go through and break it down here. I mean, this is the 2024 offseason quarterback power rankings by the 33rd team, ranked by Derek Clausen, I believe his last name.
Take our pictures out of there like you did yesterday for the draft for a second, Jeff.
We should just get him on the show here.
I mean,
have a conversation with him.
Just take this in. Just look at this list.
Sean Watson at 27.
I mean, so I have a couple issues with this list. Actually, a lot of issues.
This is crazy. This is nuts.
Jesus, they have Anthony Richardson at 16.
Hurts at
over
17.
Tua and Purdy.
Well, the first one that stands out to me is Goff is too low.
Man, 14?
Yeah, but that's every 33rd team list.
Yeah, but
at 14
that's like insanely disrespectful to me. To be
after
honest,
what he just did,
he should be 10. He should be at least 10. If you want, I don't think Lawrence this year. You can say Lawrence, and I love the guys. Know how I feel about Lawrence.
Yeah,
Goff is better than Lawrence right now. I mean, so he's top 10. And Kyler Murray at 11.
I mean, Goff behind Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith, Kyler Murray, Trevor
Hurts
Lawrence.
At 17 is the most wild thing about this list.
Yeah.
Do you guys think Kyler Murray gets any better?
No.
Kyler Murray's Kyler Murray, man.
I think we've seen the best of the Kyler Murray show. Geno Smith at 12 over Jared, especially after how Geno finished the year. Disgusting.
You know what's egregious is we're giving Anthony Richardson a higher ranking than Jalen Hurts, and he's played a couple games.
Brock
Like,
Purdy even.
Jalen Hurts was
what
in
are we
the
doing?
MVP conversation a year ago.
What are we doing? And how
What
is
the hell is
Fields
Dak doing all the way up there?
At 6?
Yeah, he's
In front of
CJ
CJ Stroud, in front of Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow at 9 is disrespectful. Joe Burrow's a top 3 quarterback in this league.
Well, to be fair, he didn't play this year. So if we're going off that,
if that's what they're basing it off of,
because that's what this seems like.
Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, Kirk.
Not really. That
Kirk
they
at
can't base
13,
it off
I
of last
guess.
year because Purdy wouldn't have been at 18 if they're basing it off.
Yeah.
Of that, so.
Like Purdy, like it's crazy. Goff at 14 after the stats that he put up this year, top 5 in basically every category. Went to the NFC Championship game is very, very, very disrespectful.
So if we're talking about this upcoming season, let's just go off of that. Let's just go off projection, like where guys are going to be and all that. I don't see how Goff is still 14. He should be top 10 unquestionably going into this season. That is not even to me a conversation. He's proven more than I think even this year with Geno Smith. The Kirk thing, like I don't mind Kirk at 13. I mean, that's about where he is, like a top 15, whatever you want to put him. That's fine. Goff should be top 10. Lawrence should be pushed back until proven otherwise. And that's a lot coming from me. And Hurts, if we're going off one bad year, what are we doing? Like, how is Richardson? If you're projecting Richardson to be that high, I mean, hell, the fact that Fields is better than 12 quarterbacks in the National Football League, especially Deshaun Watson, who's had better years. I don't know. This none of this makes sense. It's dumb.
Kyler Murray at 11
Watson behind Bryce Young.
Yeah, like we didn't notice that. Like they just kind of put that back there. Like, yeah, I'll just kind of put Watson at 27. I mean, come on. The guy likes,
That's crazy.
Guy gets rub and tugs. I mean, it's disgusting. But football.
Well, hey, it's what? It's what?
It's
what
what
you about to
do.
say it's disgusting?
That's what you indulge in, Lukas Klotz.
You watch your mouth.
And whatever he's doing, yeah, it's disgusting. But he is not the 27th best quarterback in the NFL. Like, what are we doing?
I mean, he's behind Desmond Ritter. They have Desmond Ritter above Deshaun Watson. Like, what are we doing? We should reach out to this Derek guy and see if he wants to break this down for us on the show one day. Because I would love to just hear the thoughts on the Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, Jalen Hurts at 17. Like, I would love to just hear like this breakdown about Kyler Murray at 11. I just want to hear kind of the thought, because maybe there's something behind this and we just don't see it, but it's kind of wild.
I guys, and I saw Love was at 10, I believe, and Goff was at 14. I mean, in Love, don't get me wrong. Like, I think Love is going to be good, and he was good this year. Like, he showed a lot this year. I get that, but Goff has proven 2 years in a row he's a Pro Bowl quarterback, and he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC. I made the argument last year you could put him 2 behind Hurts. This year, he's what you can make an argument. He's probably 2-3. I guess Dak had a big year statistically if you want to put him up there. But like Love,
hey, can you put the list up
right now
again?
at this point? No. Yeah. Oh, yes, I got you. Like,
I just I was like, whoa.
No, I meant no. He's not. Like, no way.
I would like to see real quick. Where does he in the NFC? Jared Goff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's the 7th best quarterback in the NFC. That's what this is saying.
Yeah, that's
basically.
Terrible take.
The 7th. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC this season. Like it's ridiculous. 7th best in the NFC is crazy.
Earlier, I was listening to 97.1 and like Jim Costa and those guys were talking about it too. Goff has his odds for MVP next year is plus 5,000, and like. It's obviously a long shot for Goff to win MVP, but some of the guys in front of him are insane. And Jeff, I know our boy Cody over there had the future for this year, Brock Purdy at plus 5,000. And you've seen how much that cash out fluctuated as he got closer and had such a season that he did. But like Goff at plus 5,000, like for example, who is this? You got Anthony Richardson's at plus 3,000 in front of him, Kirk Cousins in front of him plus 4,000. Aaron Rodgers plus 2,500. So like they think Goff is like really far fetched, and like if he has a great year and keeps the turnovers clean, like it's really not as crazy like as people may think. I'm not calling for Jared Goff to win MVP, but like for those odds, it's almost disrespectful.
Yeah, that is crazy. That is crazy odds. I get what you're saying because
It's almost
I
worth the
would.
sprinkle.
Yeah, like
It's a little
the Salt Bay.
A unit, Booner?
It's like a little.
a half a unit, maybe not a unit, but maybe like a
Not
little
a
half.
full unit.
Yeah, maybe like a little half a unit
'Cause
on it.
let's
That's
be
kind of
real.
where I'm thinking.
Let's keep it 100 right now about Goff. Like, will he win MVP? Will he even finish top 3? No, he's not, because even though Goff is a Pro Bowler and he's one of the best in the NFC, I already said that. But to win MVP, like, that's why the Purdy thing, like, even when they got closer to the end of the season, I'm like, no way.
I mean, think about
No
this
way.
as well. This year, like the season that he had, he was putting numbers up, and like they won 12 games, and he wasn't even in the conversation. Like there was a point, and I remember doing the night show. Like there was a point where we were having the conversation to where if he went out there and put a big game up in Dallas and they won the game, then maybe you can really start saying, hey, is he in that top 3, top 5 conversation for MVP with 2 weeks remaining or a week remaining or whatever it was. And I felt like that could have been a conversation, but he still had a top 5 in almost every single quarterback category, and he wasn't in 12 wins in a division, and you weren't even in the conversation, not even close to it. So, I mean, he wasn't even a finalist. So, like, he would have to have like an insane season. The Lions would have to go win 15 games and like be the clear number 1, which I think they could be the best team in football next year. That's how he has to do it, though.
And here's where I'll bring up, because here's that Patty Grimes comment. Appreciate you for tuning in. He says Lamar Jackson won MVP, so Goff has a chance. Lucas, I got this one. So Lamar Jackson, if you talk about most valuable player, and you know what, Lucas, I'll even hand it off to you after, because I think me and you were in lockstep. Lamar Jackson was the run game, and what he did in the air, which was one of his best. If you look at his passing statistics, it was actually one of his best years with a new offensive coordinator. Like Lamar's, if you talk about, if there's a pie chart and it's why the Lions or why the Ravens win games, the Ravens defense would be a let's just say a good portion of that pie chart. You know what the other portion would be? Lamar Jackson. That's it. Lamar Jackson. The Lions pie chart would be the Lions offensive line, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jared Goff. Like, you put Jared Goff. Lamar Jackson, he accounts for much more than Jared Goff does. He is a bigger reason why they're winning games. And you look at the season they had, it was great. So that's my argument for why it's different. Like, I think Jared, it doesn't mean he's not going to have great seasons in Detroit. He's shown that. But Jared, with this offensive line, like, they're the best in the NFL, I'd say. The backfield, we all argue, the best in the NFL. Like, that's going to hurt Jared. It just is. And you have an all-pro wide receiver now. Like, that all stuff, that matters. And now a tight end who's going to be one of the best, and he's already one of the best in the NFL. Like, that stuff matters, unfortunately. But that's the reality of it.
I don't know how this is even a question, because the MVP is a regular season award. So you can't bring up Super Bowls when we're talking about MVP. What can Lamar Jackson do that Jared Goff can't? A lot of things. What can Jared Goff do that Lamar Jackson can't? I would say that Jared Goff probably throws a better ball in the middle of the field, but Lamar Jackson is still very good at that. Jeff, everything you said is spot on. I don't really have to put more on top of it. It's not even a question about who's the better quarterback at this point, and it's not disrespecting Jared Goff.
I mean, Lamar Jackson won 2 MVPs, and it's not like it was clear. Like, I think a lot of people get into the facts of, and I did it for a little bit this year because, like, I don't know if you guys like kind of had the same feeling, but during the MVP race, like, there wasn't a lot of quarterbacks putting up big numbers this season. So the MVP race felt a little different, and at least in my opinion. And obviously, like, if you look at Lamar's like numbers, it wasn't even close. And I did this probably like halfway through the season and compared his numbers to his last MVP season to this one, and they are a little bit night and day difference. But I think it's dumb. And I mean, to say that Lamar wasn't the MVP this year, and on top of that, to say that he's better or he's not better as good as Jared Goff, like, he's clearly better. He's a 2-time MVP in this league. We could talk about the playoff stuff separately, but like what he does for his football team is night and day difference. I just saw a chef put in there, someone voted for Josh Allen, that's ridiculous. You know, I'm a Josh Allen guy. That's ridiculous as well. It should have just all gone Lamar. And I'm pretty sure the one person got called out because it was a Buffalo guy, I think, that just didn't want to vote for someone else. I think I heard Stephen A said he didn't want to go into the locker room and face Josh Allen, which, like, dude, vote for Lamar. Like, it's obvious. If there's one guy who didn't vote for Lamar, he is a unanimous MVP, man.
That's what I was going to say. If Lamar didn't win it, who was going to win it? Like, who were you voting for? It
wasn't the best race either. Like, at the end of the day, like, the numbers, like, throughout the whole league weren't, in my opinion, weren't the best that you've ever seen. But
yeah, that's why I don't think Lamar will be, and I'll say this right now. I'll just throw it out. I don't think Jared Goff. I don't think Jared Goff next year will be a top 5 MVP candidate.
No.
I don't think
there'll be a running back in there that you could have Justin Jefferson with the way that he's probably going to bounce back. There's
that's not a bad. I don't want that to be taken as like a shot. That's just like, I just think how the Lions are built offensively. I don't think it would be. To me, you'd be arguing a little bit in bad faith if you sat there and tried to pitch to me why Jared's the MVP of the Lions before you get to the offensive line, the run game. I mean, like, that stuff, it does matter. It just does. I'm sorry,
Yeah, and I wasn't saying he was going to win the MVP by any means. I just thought it was more disrespectful to odds. Like, they had Brock Purdy at plus 1,600. Like, come on now. It's the same deal with the 49ers as it is with the Lions as far as weapons go. And to put Brock Purdy at plus 1,600, like, his offensive weapons aren't carrying and molding that offense. But to have Goff at plus 5,000 because of his weapons and shit like that makes no sense. That's more.
Take the sprinkle and cash out when it goes up.
That's what I'm saying. You could Lions have a good start. You never know.
I'm definitely all for sprinkling on plus 5,000. That's insane. I think
a lot of people too. I think a lot of people, like, I see a lot of these comments in here. I think a lot of people use this Lamar Goff conversation because of the playoffs and like that.
The only ground they have to stand on is the playoffs.
Yeah, and I get that. And I was someone that I picked against Lamar in the playoffs because that's been a thing. And obviously we saw it with the Chiefs. Like, that's what it came down to. Like, they just couldn't find a way to win, and it really wasn't his fault at the end of the day too. But that's just kind of how the Ravens have been recently. So I want to put that on Lamar. And Goff has been in some pretty good spots with Sean McVay and the Rams, and then now this Detroit Lions team. And I'm not taking anything away from him. That's just, he's been in pretty good spots.
Now, in other news, the Lions made a signing heard around the world, or at least around North America.
An absolute dog.
At least around North America, literally. Matthew Betts, the Canadian football defensive lineman.
Dog.
And he's won awards over in Canada for, like, defensive player of the year. Like, I think he had, like, something ridiculous this year. I think he had in 2021, it says he played in 13 of 14 regular season games where he had 12. Excuse me. I'm reading that wrong. Last year, he had like 18 sacks. Sorry. 18 sacks.
18 sacks in 18 games.
Thank you, Lucas. 18 sacks in 18 games. Keitho.
He is a dog.
Keitho, you did call it. You did, my guy. You did. Matthew Betts. I know they worked him out, this season, and I kind of saw it. And he hasn't played. The only time he's actually got a cup of coffee with the NFL, he was on the Chicago Bears practice squad. And then after that, he was released, and he didn't make the roster. Then he went to Canada, floated around, and he's winning awards.
Before we watch the film, I just want to say this. I watched it earlier today. I watched like a 15-minute video of all of his sacks, or 10-minute, whatever it was. This dude, when I'm telling you guys, the Brad Holmes, Jeff, you said earlier in the show, he's an evaluator. When he sees talent, he knows talent. If you watch this guy, when we look at some of these guys' sacks, this guy's motor and how fast he gets off the ball, because typically, like, doing in the Canadian Football League, obviously the offensive linemen aren't as good. Like, it's a way lower level, but the way he gets off the ball and the way how fast he gets off, they don't even have a chance to block him. This dude, his motor and kind of how he plays, it just screams like, this is Dan Campbell. This is a perfect guy for this team. Like, if you're rebuilding a defensive line, to me, I don't know how well he's going to do in the NFL or what he'll do for us, but he is an absolute dog, and he has one of the highest motors I've seen, dude. I just, the sacks that I've seen, this dude just flies off the ball. It's a rocket. He is an absolute rocket, dude.
So, and I'll save my
Why? Are you against me? Are you on the other side? You're always on the negative side of these things, dude.
I'm not.
I'm starting to get you doing a show with you a couple weeks. You're a negative guy, man.
No, I'm not. I don't. It's not even about being
negative.
And this isn't me saying you're not honest, but I just speak my opinion. Like
let's hear it now before we watch, because I just want to know.
Okay,
let's hear the negativity. Get the negativity out of the way.
It's not about negativity. Wait, Matthew Betts, great. Like he's playing well in Canada.
The CFL.
Yeah. Well, there was that.
I said
18 sacks in 18 games. I don't think this is, to be honest with you guys, I don't think this is really anything. Like, he still has to compete to make the roster, guys. Like,
yeah, but like, I'm not saying he's going to go out there and get 10 in the NFL. I'm just saying this is a nice little piece there. And if you watch his film, the dude had 18 sacks in the season. I don't care where you play at. 18 sacks is pretty good.
I like the idea of it, but like you're still gonna have to go out and sign a dog or trade for a guy in free agency.
Yeah.
It's a good little sprinkle on the defensive line, but you're still gonna have to go out and address it.
I would rather have this guy than some of the dudes we had last year. Charles Harris, who was a healthy scratch, 17 games out of 20 games.
That's fair.
Give a dude a chance, man. Like, I don't care, dude. I looked Brad in the eyes. He watched some of my videos. I said, "Hey, Brad, hey, buddy, you're watching the video right now. Guess what? Let's get a whole new defensive line in here." And guess what he did? He went out and got a guy named Betts. Shout out.
Yeah, and Steve Wild's spot on. It's taking a flyer.
Yeah, maybe he turns. He had 18 sacks. Maybe he turns into something. Who knows?
I mean, hey, Dark Flame. If he gets 8 sacks as a rotational player, it's a good idea. I'll tell you one thing.
If he gets 5 sacks, I'm good.
He's not getting 8 sacks. But
if he gets 4 sacks,
before we watch the tape, what's your guys' initial reaction to something like this? What are you thinking?
I look at my phone, I go, and I go back to what I was doing, kind of exactly like I did with the Traquan Smith. Now, could I be wrong? Could I be being ignorant by not even looking? Absolutely. But if you're signing a player right now after that, you're simply taking a flyer, getting a look. I think it'd be lucky if he made this. There's no way he's making the 53-man unit. I'm sorry. There's just not. It's already a talented team that's going to try to keep pieces back. They're going to add free agency. They're going to add through the draft. I mean, I'll watch the film first. Obviously, I haven't seen anything, but nothing burger. Nothing burger.
You better strap the seatbelt in because we're about to watch the tape.
Give the man some respect. I'm not saying he's going to make the roster, but he's going to go out there and compete, man. This dude's got a little bit of heart.
I mean, dude, Tom Kennedy competed. Like, what are we doing? Like,
it's fair. You guys are
don't do that with Tom Kennedy, all right?
You're pulling me back down to reality here. It's fair.
You know what?
Don't do that with Tom.
You know what? That was ignorant of me to even bring up that legend, Tom Kennedy, because at least Tom was on the roster and made plays in games. I don't know if this guy will even make plays in games. I don't. I really don't.
We'll let it slide.
Mike, is he going to be the next Tom Kennedy?
No, he's the next Warren Moon at the defensive line position.
All right. Well, there you go. I'm just kidding. All right, let's break down the film, huh? We got the ball.
Don't look at the offensive line. Look how fast this man comes off the ball. That's all I want to throw out there.
Dude, don't look at the offensive line.
He's facing
Jeff, watch how fast he comes off the ball.
He's facing 5 Booners.
Don't care.
Like, okay. All right.
He said 5
Booners. Not any
Booners.
Disrespect, Booner. You're a beast, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
I just like to give everyone a little bit of a chance.
Here's the film, and he's a legend. He is a legend.
Dude, he runs Canada.
Yeah, I mean, let's.
Dude, he comes out. Look how fast he is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Wow.
You sacked Mahomes out there?
Yeah, that's that Mahomes.
Tell you, dude, he gets off the ball quick, man.
Yeah, I mean,
he's explosive, but
I'm not sitting here saying he's gonna make the roster, but I'm just.
But what are you saying? What are you actually saying?
Hey, a guy got signed, so we break him down. I'm just telling you how I feel. The man comes off the ball quick.
That's fair. I mean, but is he gonna make the roster?
No, probably not. Look at that. Look how quick that he just came off the ball there. He beat everyone.
Yeah.
Quarterback took one step and he was already in the backfield. Look at that dude. Look how fast he came off the ball.
Yeah. And that's where we are with this man. I mean, again, like, probably a great dude, family man, Like I'm not doubting him as a human being, but if we're talking football player, I think Adam Baydoun cut day one.
He'll push Hutchinson in conditioning. That's what his purpose will be. They're like, Hutch, you can get a little bit better with conditioning wise. Yeah, Liam, you got slim last year, but slim me down a little bit. We'll use this guy's comp during the gassers. That's what his piece will be.
Chef's got a
Get
point
pushed
too.
around in training camp a bit, but
they might just be slow, Chef. They might just be slow. When I watched it, I was like, oh, that man's quick, and it's probably because they are pretty slow.
Well,
you know what, too, and the thing is, it's like I'm with you guys. Like, it's probably a nothing burger. It just in the back of my head for the next year, I'm just gonna be like, I really hope this man just goes off and makes the roster, just so I could be the only one that was like, this man, dude, he's kind of a dog.
He's no Trevor Nowoski.
Shout out Trevor. Yeah, Trevor would make the team over him every day. Shout out Trevor, man, if you're watching.
Well, I was gonna say, Booner, you can't. I mean, you just said he won't make the roster. You don't think he will?
Yeah, probably not. But if he does, dude, if he does, yeah, that's my take. But if he does, I'm clipping me saying that man's a dog.
Leaving out the other context.
For sure. That man's a dog. He comes off the ball quick.
Is he a part of the Booner path?
He could be.
Sign him
available.
Sign him
part
up.
of the
he might be part of.
path.
He's a part of the recruiting.
You know what that is?
You know what that is?
You know, like when they feed lions, like no pun intended, but they just like it's at like a zoo, and you're just feeding lions, like they're just throwing carcasses. Like you're throwing this to Panay Sewell. Like that's who you're throwing this guy to. Like you're like, Panay, you hungry? Here's Matthew Betts. He just
boosts his confidence,
puts that man in a body bag. That's just how it's gonna be. I mean, and that's no insult. I mean, Panay does that to everybody. But Dan Skipper could put this man in a body bag. I'm just
Dan Skipper would kill that man.
Dan Skipper would
kill that man. You know what the issues that Dan Skipper would cause in the CFL? He would be unstoppable. Unstoppable. They already use him as a tight end as it is.
He'd probably sound like the biggest contract ever in the CFL.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, I mean,
he would be the Trent Williams of the CFL.
It's like CFL though.
That's like Jimmer Fredette.
Like Trent.
That's like Jimmer Fredette going to like Shanghai and putting up 50 a game. Like that's what
Mark Stoudemire in China.
That's what Matthew Betts is doing. And it's again, like I know I'm getting a little personal. I mean, I'm getting a little taking some shots at him, but it's true.
Stephon Marbury.
Yeah, like Stephon.
I was like, who has statues there? It's Marbury for sure.
Yeah, that's the reality. I mean, hey, I wanted to bring it up. It happened, but for being real, this is
probably a nothing burger. But if it happens, boys,
big old nothing burger.
This is a big old nothing burger, in my opinion. If he makes it, cool.
And I'm pretty sure he signed a future contract too. I don't really know what that is, but I don't even think he signed a.
It's probably a non-guaranteed.
Yeah,
like
they give those out to like the players that they have to give contract opportunities to from the international. Like there's always like those Australian defensive ends that like, let's give him a chance. He looks good over here, and it's like you get there, and it's like, yeah,
it wasn't even an Australian accent.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I didn't put my best foot forward on that. It was kind of
not at all, dude.
I don't know what that was.
It's all right. Bounce back.
Well, speaking on just the Lions and free agency, making additions, re-signing players, CJ Gardner-Johnson. We had this discussion already before about whether or not we think the Lions should bring him back. And we were all kind of in the same boat of we wouldn't mind it. Like we like CJ as a football player, as a human, but at the end of the day, if he's asking for too much money or too much cheddar, he can walk. And we're cool with it because they have a deep safety room. I was alerted. I was alerted of some insider information, and I can't share the source, but I will tell you this. There is the likelihood of CJ Gardner-Johnson re-signing is little to none. Little to none. For other reasons. And I think at least my takeaway from it when I first heard the news, my immediate reaction was makes sense. You have an up and coming, I think, potential star with Ife Belifonwu and what he did last year in a stretch of games. So for this, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like you have Brian Branch, you have Kirby, we'll see what happens with Tracy Walker, Ife, like they're fine at safety. Like they're fine at safety. We'll see. Maybe they sign somebody else. Who knows? But for CJ Gardner-Johnson, I can safely say It is very unlikely he resigns in Detroit. I mean, as we get closer to free agency, we'll find out, officially what happens. But I can confidently tell you guys right now, I don't think it's going to happen. And I'm pretty confident with saying that. I don't think it's going to happen.
Lucas, I know this is your guy. I want him to come back.
Look at his face.
When I heard this news, I want him to come back. And
I want him to come back too, but
tough.
like Jeff said, with the safety room, you kind of have a lot of up and coming guys. I can see it, and then you can kind of spread the money elsewhere. But I want to see him get a full season under his belt, and like some Honolulu Blue, kind of like what he meant to the locker room, and just kind of the dog he was. I just want him to get another chance, with the Lions, go back to the NFC Championship, right his wrongs. Obviously, he had some plays in that NFC Championship game that weren't so good, but I want another shot with CJ, man, and it kind of sucks that's the news. I know Lucas is upset down there.
Lucas, what do you have on this, man?
This is devastating. If this is true, it's devastating. I've been cheated out of one of the most things that I've been excited about in Detroit Lions football in a long time. He was my number one free agent entering the offseason last year. The Lions got him. They got him almost right before the buzzer in the season kicked off. And to have him in week 2 after a loss against the Seattle Seahawks when he got the ski mask going on, and then only to see him in the playoffs and he really didn't perform that well against the Niners. I wouldn't even say he did. He played terrible against the Niners. Yeah. And that's his legacy as a Detroit Lion, and that's one of my favorite players on the team. It hurts. It's just deflating. It's just where I want this Lions team to be. They're going to go regardless. But I really wanted CJ Gardner-Johnson on that bandwagon the whole time. I did. And I know it's probably inevitable and it's wishful thinking, but Jeff, I hope to God I'll storm Ford Field for the cause of keeping him here. I hope the source is wrong.
Well, I look at it. Let's take the source out of it. Let's just look at it from Brad's perspective. It makes sense. Like they won without him. They don't need a CJ Gardner-Johnson. I think he would benefit. Like we made that argument. But you have to think too, like, are you willing to pay him? I'm not talking about a significant amount of money, because I don't think he can even command for that. He doesn't have the leverage. Wouldn't you want to allocate that money to, I don't know, potential defensive ends or, any other position you got to fill? You have a deep safety room. Like they got good safeties. Like it's funny because we're talking about CJ Gardner-Johnson, who's actually a good football player, and to me it's weird because I'm like, okay. Usually I'd be on the other side of it, but I think they'll be fine without him.
This is where I'm at with it too, and they do have a good safety room. But if there is some sort of like injury or something, then it's like, okay, CJ does benefit a lot. Him and Iffy, like that's a benefit to have. And I see some people in the chat here saying like Tracy Walker. At the end of the day, I think real quick, you cut Tracy Walker. He's a $12 million cap hit this year. You cut him. I think you're going to save enough money, and probably what you save is what CJ is going to be getting paid anyways. Because like you said, he's not going to take, like, you're not going to have to pay him a ton of money coming off another injury. So like I just don't see, like, I get it, like, yes, there's Iffy, but for depth purposes, like, to have a guy like CJ on your team and Iffy, I don't see Brad being like, hey, let's move on from him, and then you cut Tracy and you only have 3 real legit safeties there, and if someone goes down, where are you at then? Like, where do you go from there? I think having CJ is like that, especially too, like Lucas said, and I've been on this all season long on the night show I was on, all of that is CJ Gardner-Johnson. As much as people don't like him from the outside looking in, he is probably the biggest locker room guy that defense had all season long. Like, it was very, very well known. There was no issues coming out from the locker room with players. Even the doc came on and even said that, like, obviously there was issues with the media, but there was 0 issues when it came to players and teammates. Like, he stuck up for his teammates. He was a voice. He helped Kirby kind of take that next step in his game, being vocal and kind of becoming a leader. Like, he was a huge piece of this team kind of getting that mentality. So I would hate, to be honest, if this is true, I would hate it. If I'm Brad, I'm finding a way to keep him and cutting on Tracy. That's just me. He brings more to the game than Tracy, in my opinion. Even on and off the
Tracy
field.
Walker over CJ Gardner-Johnson at this point in their careers is just idiotic. Go ahead, though, John. I didn't mean to cut you off.
And it seemed like Brad Holmes, like Booner said, with the locker room, Brad Holmes is the fan of CJ Gardner-Johnson too. And I know you've seen Brian Branch tweet about it to bring him back too. So I think as a whole, the Lions want CJ Gardner-Johnson back, and I think even Brad Holmes does, but it's just getting him at the right price and the right amount of years to make it favorable for their team. But I want CJ Gardner-Johnson back.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think they want him back. And I don't think that's like a shot at him as a player, but like from Brad's perspective, Mike, we kind of brought up with the safety room, and you said this, Booner, we gotta be consistent. Why are you worried about losing a CJ? Brad can just go draft a CJ.
It's so different though. CJ's already been in the league, and you don't have to pay him much. No. That's way different. Don't turn that on me at all.
Brad can draft.
Don't even make that look. Shut that look off right now. No, you are wrong. Because you don't have to pay him a ton of money, and he's been in the NFL and he's led the league in interceptions, and he's already a piece of this football team, and he's already a leader on this team. Don't do that. Don't smile.
All right, I am trolling.
You're dead wrong. You are trolling, and you're dead wrong too. That was a bad troll. At least troll and try and be right. That was dead wrong. You weren't even close to being right. That wasn't even believable.
He did the Jeff look where he raised the eyebrows, and I could tell that was a troll.
Well, I'm just.
He tried to reach for it.
If you're gonna troll, at least make it believable. Like, come on, what are we doing here?
No, listen. I think.
Hey, Jeff, do you really have a source? Like, what are we talking about here? I'll come back at you every time.
What was that?
I tried to do your eyebrow thing. I don't know how you do it.
And I can't give out who. You just have to trust me. All right, trust me. Well, just trust me. I don't think I think the Lions and CJ, it's going to be a breakup. Not really, because he's a free agent, so they're just kind of going their separate ways. And I think it's okay. Like, they're going to be fine. They can go sign. If they cut Tracy, they sign more money. They save more money. Excuse me. You could go spend it on a corner. Go draft a corner.
Let's run with 3 safeties next year. Let's run with 3 safeties next year. That's smart. Let's run with 3 safeties. Let's do that.
Yeah,
if he's been healthy his whole career, let's just run with 3 safeties and go win a Super Bowl, huh?
What?
Let's do that. I mean, what are we gonna do?
How did that?
You don't bring CJ back and you cut Tracy.
Don't make me do this.
Now what safeties do you have? No,
I like CJ. Don't make me do this.
Do what?
They were fine without him.
But Jeff, to your point, the Lions need to get better.
They got better when
even better.
Tracy.
And I saw Adam's comment and made my head want to explode. He goes, I don't like that we ran 4 to 5 safeties at one point on the field. It was a detriment. Name how many NFL teams can do that. Put 4 safeties out there that are legitimately good and make a difference. Very few. That is a wrinkle that you can put up against the San Francisco 49ers, the Kansas City Chiefs, when they get a legitimate wide receiver. That's like taking the next step as a defensive team where you can make having 4 safeties. That's something that teams around the league would go, wow, okay, maybe we need to do that because look at the flexibility.
They got torched with him in the lineup.
They got torched on the outside of the perimeter in the middle of the field. Hold on. That was ignorant. That was ignorant, Jeff Iafrate. Go back against the 49ers, the middle of the field, lockdown. Where'd they get exposed? On the perimeters. Go back against the Las Vegas Raiders. Jimmy Garoppolo could have had 300 yards in that game if he hits Devontae Adams on the outside of the hash. All of the Lions' issues in the secondary came outside of the hash. And when you have a guy like Kirby Joseph who's a playmaker, that's going to leave some of those open. So you know what you do? You need to put better players around him. What makes good players better? Putting good players around him. And if you can get a guy like CJ Gardner-Johnson out there that gives your defense a better player and more flexibility, and you get just better regardless, what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
I'm just starting a sense of some people hate CJ Gardner-Johnson. And
Jeff, you a hater?
Like, that's what I'm starting to get a little sense of here.
Easy's rubbing off on you.
Are you a hater, Jeff?
Easy your source?
I'm not a hater.
Are you a hater? Just yes or no. Are you a hater?
I'm not a hater, guys. You know what?
How are we overvaluing CJ Gardner-Johnson? He led the NFL in interceptions in 12 games.
Yeah. I kind of agree with
ridiculous.
Him. I like CJ, but like,
I'm sure you do it
back for like $8 million.
We haven't even seen a full year sample size to say you're overvaluing him.
No,
we're not losing Ed Reed.
The problem is you're not losing an Ed Reed, but you talk about the Detroit Lions. You especially, because me and you a lot of times are right in lockstep with this. The Lions need to go get one of those dudes. And you can say what you want about CJ Gardner not being one of those dudes. Now, if you get CJ Gardner back healthy, and you go get a dude, you got 2 dudes. Because if you re-sign CJ Gardner-Johnson, do not act like you cannot go get a corner. You can still go get 2 if you want a free agency. Because even if you don't bring back CJ, you're not going out and signing L'Jarius C. Brad Holmes is not doing that.
Yes, but
you could still do everything you wanted to do.
You're taking the money you'd pay CJ because you have a much cheaper option who's actually a rising star in Iffy, and you're putting it towards a corner, which we could agree they need a veteran corner.
You can get one. Yeah, veteran
I don't
corner.
think you're breaking the bank for CJ anyways.
But
everyone said you're going to cut Tracy Walker too, and they have the cap. I don't know.
Unless they bring in another elite another safety for depth, I just cutting Tracy Walker and letting CJ walk is just, to me, it's all right. Now you just have 3 guys. Where's your depth at? Like, you just had depth there. That was one of your stronger position groups. All of a sudden, you go into the offseason, you're one of your stronger position groups. Guess what? It turns over, and now it's not.
Stronger on paper. They did not.
You like 10 minutes ago said that was a great position group. You just said that. You came out of your mouth and you said it was an elite position group on this team.
Maybe I was a little aggressive. Said that. Maybe I was a little aggressive.
No, you can't walk back now. Now that you want to change your
I've been waiting for this.
No,
hold on.
You just said that there was an elite safety room, and then you want to cut 2 of them. And now they don't have a safety room.
Why are we getting to like cutting? I'm just talking about CJ.
That's what's going to happen. Tracy most likely gets cut.
Okay, but I don't. That's not me. I'm not. I didn't say that. I just said CJ.
I'm saying that.
I think CJ. Okay, so that's your. I'm saying. We're talking about CJ in the Lions. My thing is, CJ. I'm cool with him coming back. I'm cool. But am I frustrated if he doesn't? No. Like, I'm not. I don't. That's where I'm at. You can call me a hater. I just think the Lions will be okay without him because they won games without him for a majority of the season.
I know exactly what's happening here.
What?
I know exactly what's happening here, fellas.
This is kind of playing both sides.
You also said how bad
he's playing both sides.
Hey, Booner got caught up yesterday.
He's been playing both sides, and on top of that, he says he has a source. So if he does have a source, he just wants to be on the right side of it. So now he's going on the side to where
I don't think it's
that.
I think if Jeff didn't agree, he'd say. But Jeff right now is not. I think you need to do a better job, Jeff. We're holding you accountable.
For what?
Yes. Do you want CJ Gardner-Johnson back or no?
This is exactly what happened yesterday.
I already said I would. But my point is, am I going to be pounding the table and the Lions messed up with? No, hell no.
Hand up real quick. Question.
You guys can pout and be,
question. No, Jeff. Relax.
CJ's the one that got away. We let Ed Reed go. I don't care.
He's the one that gets away.
Come out. 30.
We lose Grover Quinn. That's how I look at it.
Let me get time out real quick. Jeff, what you just said there, that you literally what did you say? You said you would want him to stay, but you wouldn't be surprised if he left, correct? Is that what you're saying?
No, I did not say that at all. Listen, I said
I'm trying to just confirm here real quick. I want to hear. No, relax. I want to confirm.
I just said, I'll say it for the 15th time.
Thank you. Say it one more time.
I personally want CJ back. But with this scenario, with the information I just got, am I frustrated if he leaves? I made that clear when we talked about him. No, it's more of a preference, right? Like I would like CJ here. Cool. Like I know people slander him.
Okay, so this is what you slandered me for yesterday.
Am I going to say, "Oh, the Lions, man, you guys messed up"? No, I'm not.
This is exactly, Jeff, the argument you and I got in yesterday.
It's of not me at all.
Saying, no, it is because I literally said, I wouldn't be mad if Brad Holmes went out and got Hassan Reddick. I wouldn't be mad. I'd be okay with it. Like I'd be like, we just got Hassan Reddick. But do I want him to do it? Nope. And you're like, pick a side. Like that is literally exactly what you just did. Except yesterday you were yelling at me to pick a side. So,
well, guess what? We actually have I don't know a source on this happening. So like
I'm just saying,
not speculation.
So
like,
you're picking the side of he's gone.
No, okay. All right. Well then, okay. If you guys took it, if that's how you're taking it, then go ahead. It is what it is.
Hey, let's move on to the player awards. We don't need another scream show like yesterday.
That
Oh, and
I
Adam,
don't
here comes
back.
Adam. Here comes your guy to the rescue. That's not how it works, but no, if you watch yesterday, today, that's exactly how it worked.
No, I think he was talking about Jeff giving up his source, and that isn't how it works.
I don't care about his
You
source.
can't just give that out.
Don't give your source. I didn't say anything about giving. I don't care about your source.
Oh.
Keep your source. I'm just saying, if yesterday I got a little bit of a for that. Booner, pick a side. Jeff, pick a side.
Yeah, well, that you okay. I'm not even going to go into it. You're so wrong, but I'll just let you have it. But just because we don't have time to talk about it, but
we've got plenty of time. We've got 40, 50 more minutes.
It's not about playing both sides. That's not what I'm doing at all, actually. But regardless, we can move on.
But shout out to your source though. It's tough news, brutal news.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I just CJ, you guys know, like we're all CJ fans here on the pod. Like I think I like his leadership, all that stuff. But like the Lions, they'll be fine without him. Like that's not playing both sides. They will be fine. Like that's a take. They will be fine. It's not about like I can see him leaving, but I can also see him return. No, I'm saying they'll be fine. That's what I'm saying. Like they'll be fine without him. I promise you. Promise. That's a Jeff guarantee. Like you do Booner guarantees. Jeff guarantee. They will be fine without CJ. There's my guarantee.
I don't throw those around a lot.
And Jeff or Adam threw it in there. 10-4 without him this season. But
yeah, like that's the point I'm making. Like it's not like, oh no.
I still think they'll be better with him in there, but I get what you're saying. They are still good without him. They still have a lot of depth at the position, and I don't think it's right to just not or move on from him and then sign someone else when you can easily bring a guy back that fits in this locker room that everyone in this locker room likes, and he's not going to be an expensive price. But
I am interested if they do let him walk, if they bring anyone else as well. Like if they do sign someone or draft safety. I'm interested in that, to be honest.
Yeah. For sure.
Well, speaking of the Lions, we're going to be giving out awards here in a couple of minutes. So before we get to that, if you're listening on YouTube, subscribe if you haven't already. Like the stream. We appreciate you. I have the link in the YouTube chat to become a member. You can do that. We have different options. Even if you don't, you're just tuning in. We appreciate you regardless. But still, subscribe if you're not, because we have content coming out all the time. All the time. We're consistent, and that matters. If you're listening on Facebook, thank you. Make sure you like the Facebook page. We're trying to grow all social media platforms, and you see them above if you're watching visually. If you're listening, leave a 5-star review at Official CT Pod on all platforms.
I almost spit my water out. Dude.
Is this what we're doing? Is this what we're doing?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude! I was taking a drink of water. I had to almost spit it back. That was crazy. Jeff, can I throw one more statement out there? I put it in our.
Jeff, look at Jeff, bro. He's about to snap.
Dude, his face is so red. He wants to kill Booner.
Jeff gets so red, dude. Hey, that wasn't even me, by the way. Who brought Lucas did bring up, hey, you're pick and bolt. You're doing what Booner did yesterday. So
I was saying what you were saying. You're like doing the.
Yeah, I just had to capitalize on that. The boys brought up a good point, so I just capitalized. I apologize if you got mad.
No, I just call.
We appreciate
you that are incorrect. That's all.
I appreciate.
That's what I do,
and so do we. So,
Lions awards. Start it off, Jeff.
So, MVP. Okay, let's just move on. I swear to God.
He's so rattled. All right, so we're doing the Lions awards. We're not going to read off. We're not all going to do our own list. We're all kind of going to go read through and then kind of agree on one, because reading 4 or 5 lists in a row is boring as shit. So, MVP though. MVP of the Detroit Lions. I think there's no other answer but Jared Goff.
I have a different answer.
Wrong. But we'll do what it takes to agree on one, and then we'll move on to the next.
I got Jared Goff as well.
Yeah, me and Booner got Jared Goff. Jeff,
I'm gonna go with the Lions' offensive line.
Don't hate that.
That's my MVP.
I didn't know we were doing position groups as a whole. I thought we were doing one player, but
Hank Fraley then.
He's a coach.
Now, Jeff lied with you. Jeff, listen. It's Penei Sewell, fellas. Penei Sewell. Without Penei Sewell, Jared Goff does not perform the way that he does.
I think, and if you want me to pick a player, okay, Penei Sewell. Like I think this offensive line, most valuable player, we'll go Penei Sewell, because what they did protecting Goff and running the football, to me, that's MVP. And if you want to go with the best player on the offensive line, go Penei. You might argue Frank, but I'm going to go Penei Sewell then. If you want me to pick a player, he's my MVP.
Jeff Iafrate, you were spot on. The answer is Penei Sewell. Now let me ask you this. Most valuable player. We talk about a huge reason why we want CJ Gardner-Johnson back is because who he is in the locker room. Name me a bigger leader in the locker room outside of Penei Sewell. You can't even dispute it because Penei Sewell is the leader of this team. He's the best pure player on this team. He's the best offensive lineman in the league. And this team is ran behind the offensive line. It's Penei Sewell.
Anyone disagree? I think it's right.
I think that's like 1A, 1B. I mean, you can make cases for both of them.
What about offensive player of the year for the Lions? Offensive player.
I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go Amon-Ra. Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown deserves it.
Me as well.
He had a first team All Pro as a receiver in the NFL. To get that award as a receiver is tough. There's so many dogs in the NFL at that position, and he went out there and did it. And he dominated every single week.
Yep.
Every week he dominated. One of the best in the NFL at his position. Without Amon-Ra St. Brown, this offense to me struggles. I think they still can put points up, but like Amon-Ra is for sure the offensive player of the year.
Yeah, you just look at the year he had, like 1,400 yards, and the connection between him and Goff, and how much he actually just means to this offense. There's another person that you could have gone, I think, and Jeff might go him, but I'm going to save that for later. But it's Amon-Ra for me.
I actually don't disagree. I think this is Amon-Ra. That's the only answer. Maybe you have a case for someone else. I think it has to be Amon-Ra for offensive player of the year because of the importance of him in the passing game, and just the leap he took. By the way, this was all inspired by Tim Twentyman. He came out with his own awards on X. I want to make sure I give credit. That's where this was inspired from. But I'm going to go with St. Brown. I think that's the right answer. So far, I think we all agree. I mean,
yeah, we all
MVP,
agree. We all agree.
We can argue, but yeah, offensive player, it's no question. ETN says Craig Reynolds. I think that it's a fair argument. Let's go defensive player of the year. I think this might be consensus too, to be honest with you.
Hutch.
It has to be, right? Like
I think there's a second guy. I think there's a second guy you can throw
I said
in there.
Hutch / Anzalone.
Yeah.
But Hutch was my number
Ryan
one.
Branch there too.
There's
a gap though. I think it's like Anzalone,
No, I don't think
Branch. Then
I
Gap.
think Anzo and Hutch. I mean, Branch had like some big games, but I just think throughout the whole season, I think Anzo and Hutch were the two guys who really like every single day. Like I know there was a couple stretches with Hutch where he didn't get to the quarterback, but he was always getting pressure and he was always there. And if he had guys with him, as Jeff talked about all the time, if he had another guy on the other side, he was going to get home. So he dominated all season long. Pro Bowler, and I think Anzo as well. Anzo, like you saw when Anzo went out, like how big of a piece he was when he was missing. Like he is a massive piece of this defense. So I think Anzo as well. I think it's like a 1A, 1B thing to where it's like a co defensive player of the year.
Yeah, that's the only reason I was going to go Anzo, because maybe the whole consistency thing, and obviously Hutch had a stretch without going, even though he was getting pressure in the quarterback, he wasn't getting home. So that's kind of why I put Anzo there at that little 1B. But I think either one of those two, and I do even like Brian Branch. I think he had a fantastic year, so you could probably make a case for that too, Lucas.
I think Brian Branch might be a good. He could be in the conversation for this next award that we're going to get to. I think Phil makes a great point, though. I think Bruce Irvin MVP made Derek Carr piss blood.
Germ.
That
There you go, Boone.
Yeah, that man Germ. You know what? You could do that too. Chef says it was Derek Barnes. He single-handedly took us to the NFC Championship game, and the only reason we lost is because he got injured and couldn't return.
Good point. He's his team's Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah,
hey, Greenlaw, dude. Can we real quick? I know we're getting off track on this one. The Greenlaw thing, when he the first couple plays when he was jumping around, I think he did that to himself. Lucas brought it up. He gets hurt on his own all the time. I think the fact that like he was like doing like long jump every time he got a tackle the first 3 plays of the game, I think that like loosened up his Achilles, and like that was why it happened. Like he had too much adrenaline. Like he just had too much going on.
Do you guys remember Stephen Tulloch after he got the sack and he like did the celebration and tore his ACL on the celebration? I mean,
how could we forget?
That's got to be one of the most like embarrassing moments. Like as to be Stephen Tulloch, also as a Lions fan, like damn, that's how they got you. That's how the injury bug got
you. And he wasn't a scrub by any means. And after that, his career was just never the same.
All right.
He was
Just
balling
thinking-
that year too.
Just thinking about that, it's messed up, but it is so like how? I mean, it's just like that's how I think when Hutch does the Michael Jackson, he swings his knee up. I'm like, one of these times, bro, you're about to tear your ACL.
Oh man, that'd be fucking brutal.
Actually, knock on wood.
Knock on wood, brother. Don't ever do that to us again.
Yeah.
Don't say that something like that ever again. Jeez.
All right,
Jeff.
we'll go rookie of the year. Rookie of the year.
I got someone. Oh,
I
actually,
think-
no, I'll let
I
everyone
would
else know.
honestly, there's a couple answers I wouldn't hate, to be honest with you.
I have one. I think it's clear. It clear as day.
Antoine
I think,
Green?
I'm Sam Laporta.
I think it's Sam Laporta. Like, and I
Yeah.
get Gibbs had a great year. Like Sam Laporta was second team all. He was an all pro player at his position as a rookie.
Yeah.
With and that's with Travis Kelce, TJ Hawkinson, George Kittle. Like that's with dudes in that position, and he was one of the best. Like, dude, it has to be Laporta. He's one of the best at his position in year one. Like, I get Gibbs. I still think Gibbs is top 5 potentially going into next year. Like,
Yeah.
but Laporta is Laporta, man.
Yeah,
I don't.
Laporta. No, go on, Booner.
I saw Adam's list. He said Laporta, Branch, Gibbs, and I would just switch Branch and Gibbs. I think Gibbs would be 2 because I think Gibbs, and I get Branch did make some big plays. I just think Gibbs, again, if you're looking at it, like Gibbs is one of the best in the league now at his position, and I think Branch can get there and he will get there. But right now, Laporta, Green, Branch.
Yeah, Laporta, I think, is already obviously top 5 at his position, and you just seen all season long how he's a safety blanket for Goff and how big he came up even in the San Fran game. Laporta is a dog. It's got to be him. But like you guys said, Gibbs is just going to keep getting better, and same thing along with Branch.
What do you
I
think?
don't hate it. I mean, I'm going Lagoda number 1. I think that's the consensus, as it should
Yep.
be. And then it's close, but I'm going to go with Branch too, just because I think if Branch had better, like, let's really think about this. Jahmyr Gibbs, this is not taking anything away from him. The best offensive line in football in front of him. Amon-Ra St. Brown there. And then when he's not on the field, David Montgomery's putting them in position to score and helping him because now they're going to switch the flow up of the game. Brian Branch, as far as in the secondary, sometimes is just a one-man show, holding it down, especially when Kirby Joseph isn't playing his A game. So especially that Brian Branch played it that well in the run game too. Go back against the Buccaneers and watch how many impact plays near the line of scrimmage Brian Branch made in the run game as a safety. And I don't think his dynamic ability is appreciated enough. So I'm going to go Branch at 2 and then Gibbs right behind him at 3. But it's close, but I got to go with Brian Branch at 2.
I actually agree. I'm going Branch at 2. Laporta, I think, is consensus. We can agree. Like, he is all pro.
for sure.
Like, the reason, though, is the interesting thing is 2 and 3, which I would give Branch the slight edge because of how much they needed him in the secondary. I think he was, especially in the slot, his impact he had, both rushing the passer and in coverage. And this is a secondary that couldn't cover to save their life. So Brian Branch, he had 13 pass deflections, multiple interceptions. He started the year with a pick 6 on Mahomes, who never threw a pick, let alone a pick 6 in week 1. And that's now the Super Bowl champion. Like, it means more. I think Brian Branch was just steady all year. And when he didn't play, like, you noticed the absence. And I'm not saying like Jahmyr is this slouch or anything, but I think Brian, I would give the slight edge because of how bad the secondary was. And he was the bright spot, a big bright spot.
I will say this. With Branch, there was time throughout the season, and I don't know if it was just me, to where it felt like to start the season, he went on that stretch to where it was like Brian Branch is legit, like he's a dude. And then he got hurt and came back, and it took him a while to get back to where he was to start the year. In my opinion, that's just how it felt. So, like, obviously when the playoffs came around, like, he got back to Brian Branch, but it did feel like it took him a little bit. And with Gibbs, when he came back from that injury, he had like a 9 or 10 week stretch to where he just dominated, and then that ended all the way into the playoffs. So that's why I kind of lean Gibbs a little bit more. It is just that it is. I do feel like there was a stretch where Branch he wasn't the level that we knew he could be just because he came off the injury. Could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, it's just, and I don't think you're totally wrong. Like, there was definitely, after he got hurt, that's going to have an impact. But as far as production, sometimes that safety, it's hard. You know what I mean? Like, if Jahmyr Gibbs busts two touchdown runs, like, you're going to remember that a hell of a lot more than Brian Branch having 7 tackles and having 2 pass deflections. So it's harder for a DB if he's not having an interception or a fumble return. Like, it's hard for them to make a true impact in the game that you recognize unless there's some crazy highlight play.
Yeah, and here's the thing with Gibbs, and again, like, I hate doing this because now it's gonna the hater.
No,
and all, like
no.
I can't even make like
You are
but
a
I
hater.
think this
We
is
already
a
know
fair
it.
argument, dude. I think
what I'm
you're
gonna
a
say
hater.
is for Gibbs, like he has the benefit of splitting carries with Dave Montgomery, and he runs behind this offensive line. Like Branch doesn't have like there's no pass rush. Like so for him, like he's kind of on an island, and he held his own this year as a rookie. And being a secondary player in the NFL is one of the hardest positions to just walk in and be really, really good at. So for him versus Jameer, he had a much more difficult task, and he lived up to the expectations and then some. And like I said, started the year with a pick six. So I think that's why I'd give Branch the slight edge, but I don't hate the Gibbs thing. But they're all going to be great players. I think we can mutually agree there. They got studs.
Don't hate it. Don't hate
I know
it.
people mentioning Jack Campbell. I know they're probably kidding. I mean, he played well towards the end of the year.
He's solid.
I think he takes that. I've said it a couple times. I think he takes that step this year.
Yeah,
to being like the number one linebacker.
He's that Draymond, Curry, KD, and Clay. He's there, but I think there's as far as talent goes. But
I
he's
wouldn't
definitely solid.
He's more
Antoine Green. I mean, you could throw Antoine Green in there. Colby Sorsdale. Colby stepped in.
Oh, Booner, stop it! Stop. We're not going down this.
I'm just joking. I swear you guys don't understand my sarcasm sometimes, boys. Come on, lock in.
Setup. That was a beautiful setup.
Most improved. I'm curious to see who you guys think. I just steer the ship, man. I steer the ship.
Most improved.
Ooh.
I already know me and Jeff have the same answers because we talked before the show. So I'll sit this one out.
Oh, this is easy. Aleem McNeil. Easy.
I said iffy because you know what kind of was able to slot in right when CJ Gardner-Johnson was gone. He didn't really miss a beat. He did multiple things on the defense, but I was just curious to see who you guys had.
Aleem the Dream.
Aleem.
I'll say with Iffy, like, and that was my answer because I think Iffy's gonna have a breakout year next year. I'm on the Iffy train, but like just to differ from Mike, Derek Barnes.
Yes,
that's a good one too.
You know what, Jeff? I'm pretty sure we did this on the last show I was on. We did most improved. We did our awards, and I think I actually might have picked Derek Barnes. I could be wrong, but I think I picked a Derek Barnes.
Yeah.
Are we picking Derek Barnes over Aleem? Are you guys saying that?
Lucas, I don't think this is
we could all have different picks.
Yeah,
I know.
Like
where would you guys, I just want to make sure I know where your guys' Derek Barnes train is at.
No, Barnes is to me. Barnes is mid, but like I thought he was.
I'm not saying you guys think, but do you guys really? And I'm not. This is what I'm asking. Do you guys think that Derek Barnes improved this year more than Aleem McNeil did for the Detroit Lions?
No.
Okay.
I mean, you could make a case because Barnes was like worse, and you really didn't see anything from him last year. And I guess you kind of seen
just like
something from Aleem though, and like Derek Barnes got way better.
I'm with Gentry on this because Aleem McNeil had more tackles last season than he did this year. He had more tackles for loss last year than he did this year.
He got hurt.
And I know he got hurt, but he did have 1 to 5 sacks as well. So the sacks was an increase. But to act like it's crazy to go Derek Barnes, who literally made one of the biggest jumps on this football team from barely even playing to coming in. And I think he was like hurt on the team.
And even Anzalone made a big jump because not too many people were like super high on Anzalone going into this year. And for the season he had and the consistency, like Anzalone was solid too. There's a lot of different answers you can have. Well, I mean, I guess there could be a wrong answer, but there's a lot of right answers.
Jones, he had a sack. We can throw Benito in there.
Well, hold on, real quick for me. Okay, and just to answer that, like I threw Derek Barnes in there as like an honorable mention. To be honest with you,
okay,
like, I don't think you can make a case for him over like Iffy, Aleem. I just think those guys improved more, but like he is an honorable mention. Like he got better.
Yeah, all right, then that's fine. Then that's fine. I'm with it.
I see what you're saying, Lucas, because Aleem did take a big jump, but I think
Aleem, it was
Iffy,
huge for the Lions as a team. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I didn't hear what you said.
I said it was huge for the team. Like they needed Aleem.
Yeah,
like you could argue, and I'm not saying it's solely on this, but Anzalone takes a step. Well, guess who jobs makes easier? Derek Barnes. Again, Derek Barnes did improve. I'm not saying that, but with Anzo playing at that level, Aleem was at some point a one-man show. I know Hutch is there, but Hutch wasn't Hutch for a good portion in the middle of the season.
Time out. Derek Barnes was 4th on the team in tackles, and he made some plays throughout the season. The only reason,
I'm not saying that.
no, I'm reading the comment here. The comment. Someone said that, why are we acting like Derek Barnes? Like, time out. If Derek Barnes didn't fumble, or not fumble, but mess up that safety in Dallas, Derek Barnes, no one would be saying anything bad about Derek Barnes this season. That one play was like the sole reason why he got a lot of the back.
I wouldn't say the one play, but that was a bold play.
That pulled it out to where people went at him hard. And if you look at, like, he was 4th on the team in tackles. He had the interception to seal the game. Like, he had multiple tackles for losses. Like, he made plays here and there. He wasn't on the field like he also had Jack Campbell and Rodrigo and Anzo that were kind of rotating with him. So he wasn't out there that many, like, every single snap. But, like, let's not act like Derek Barnes didn't take a step forward. What are we doing here? No. Like, come on.
He took a step. It was like a.
I'm confused on why Jeff.
You're the one who brought him up, Jeff.
You said Derek Barnes.
No, I didn't. No, hold on.
You went from the second step to the third.
Yeah, I didn't expect. I'm gonna be honest, like, and I love you. I didn't expect you guys to, like, die on the Derek Barnes hill. I just brought him up as like an honorable mention. Like, he did get better, but, like, let's be real. Like, he did get a little better. Like, he got a little better. You know what I mean?
All right, let me see. Well, how many tackles did he? Let me look at his tackle difference.
I mean, you could bring up the tackle.
81 and 5 tackles for losses. All right, let me look this up. I just want to just see from last year. 81 tackles. What did he have in 2022? Oh, let me keep scrolling. Let me keep scrolling. Oh, 47. He doubled his tackles in one season. Like, what are we talking about? He took a little step. He doubled his production. He doubled his
yeah.
And I'm not sitting here dying on the hill. I'm just saying, like, let's not, like, people are acting like, oh, Derek Barnes. He doubled his production this year.
Yeah. Like, dude, he got better.
I don't know. You start reading the comments, you see people against you, and you're like, yeah, you might be right.
I will say this is my whole thing why I'm so standoffish about Derek Barnes is his progression went up because this year he wasn't playing behind a rookie 6th-round pick. He was able to out. Yes, and, like, that's at
good.
This point in his career, that's an improvement.
It's part of it.
But it's not like, and he's not terrible, but I wouldn't be, like, mad if he was left off the honorable mentions either.
What about the player that regressed the most? I know someone suggested that, and I kind of like it, to be honest.
I saw who that person said as well. Robert Lane said the commish.
Yeah, that's who was going to be my pick too if we did this. But yeah, that's trying to think of others.
Cam Sutton.
Are we going to count him because he wasn't on the Lions last year?
Yeah,
that's
like player from player. It doesn't have to be a
Sutton.
Lions, but just a player from last year to this year in terms of their play. Like Cam Sutton, like, regressed. And I know I'm not saying it's all like the injury. I get that. He's a number 1 corner, but he's not. He should be more of your 2. But, like, you can't look at him in Pittsburgh and look at him now and be like, yeah, that dude got better. So, and I can't excuse everything because of an injury. So his play was not like it was last year, whether that's injury or not. But regardless, he did regress. Kamish is another one.
Hey, can I throw one out?
Marvin Jones.
Marvin
Jones. I think if we're being real, Marvin Jones takes home the cake.
Can I go opposite here? Can I go opposite real quick? You guys are saying, like, guys who weren't on the team last year but were this year. A guy who was on the team last year and wasn't this year, Jamal Williams, doing what he did last year to this year, bro.
They made sure he got a touchdown.
Yeah, shout out Jameis Winston. Looking out for his guys.
That we should just send him the award in New Orleans.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, he should take it home. That man did jack squat in New Orleans. Yeah, I guess it matters when you're running behind the best offensive line. I mean,
yeah,
it definitely matters. Okay, what about best play? Best play the entire season.
Best play?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the best play, but my favorite play was the Craig Reynolds block. Just your running back room's depleted. You got it all. Your team just leaving it all out there, and that was a gritty game, a gritty win. So that's it for me. But I do think there's a lot of other ones, and I'm not going to say them to try and take some other of your guys' picks, but that was a huge one for me.
Go ahead,
What's
Bill.
up?
I'm gonna go in the playoffs. I'm going to go Derek Barnes interception to seal the deal to go to the NFC Championship.
It's a great
game.
one.
I think that was a huge play. I know we just went and talked Derek Barnes for 10 minutes, but nothing to do with that. I think that, like, to me, that was like, if I looked back, we did so many streams this year. And if I looked back at like the game or whatever it was that I got the most hype, and like, that was like, oh my gosh, I think the Derek Barnes interception to seal the deal to go to an NFC Championship game was like the best moment of the season for me. Personally, I thought that was the best play.
We're not doing
Lucas,
that. Just say something.
I mean, it didn't show up like as like a huge moment in the season, but my favorite play that I got the most hype about was Brian Branch laying out Bijan. That play was one of the best parts of the season because Brian Branch went on to have a huge game, but just knowing that Bijan was considered he was going to go in there and potentially run all over the Lions, and that's how Brian Branch set the tone. I mean, it knocked his helmet off. It was one of my favorite plays of the season. Yep.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go with Brian Branch's pick 6 on Mahomes because
up there.
Yeah, I think it just set the tone. Like it just set the tone for the season. Like you're in Arrowhead, you beat the Chiefs, pick 6 on arguably the greatest quarterback or guy who's trending to be the greatest quarterback. Correction. But regardless, that pick 6, man, like how much like fire that lit or how much momentum that gave the city of Detroit. Like that is the when I think of like the best play, there's a lot. Like Booner mentioned the Derek Barnes pick 6. You guys named some, like they're all great plays. But the Craig Reynolds block, of course, I'm going to go with Brian Branch's pick 6 on Patrick Mahomes. Like that was how the man, like watching that live was different. Like that was different. Never threw a pick in week 1. And he threw a pick 6 to Brian Branch, a rookie in his first NFL start ever. Like that's insane. You can't write a better script. Like that. So to me, that would take home the crown there. Paul Thomas says, I like Branch's clean hit on Bijan Robinson. Bijan never found his teeth.
Honorable mention, Bruce Irvin putting Derek Carr in a deathbed.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good play. I know it might have been a penalty, but that was a great play.
That's another one. Detroit Grit looking face from the ground like WTF just hit me. Yeah, that's a sick one. But yeah, it was. I'm not gonna lie to you. Watching the Lions playoff games, something came out of me. Like it was like it was like the demons, where I'm just like I turned into a different man.
Oh
yeah. Like
that's how I am every game. I feel bad afterwards, but if there's a huge player on the other team that goes down, wish him well, but not within the time of the game.
Yeah.
I like Bond. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, Bond. If he's picked in front of JJ to seal the NFC North, guys, that was solid. He is correct. He is absolutely correct. All right, I that is the awards for that. That's it for the awards. I think we all had great ones. And there's nothing to really debate. I mean, we all kind of agreed for the most part. Now, what?
I just said the funniest part is like throughout the awards, the only thing we like got mad and debated was Derek Barnes. Like, who would have thought?
It was like 2 and 3 of like the award. It wasn't even number 1. Which
is
funny. Like
if you stood on the front line for him and Jeff started to cook you for it.
No. Jeff was like, "What about Derek Barnes, boys?" And then I was like, "Oh yeah." Then he was like, "No."
Jeff knew Booner would get slappy about it. He wanted to dunk on him.
I didn't know.
You're taking advantage of your co-host now. Like, what are we doing here?
Hey, he did improve. I just, there's
Double
other guys that I think improved more. That's all.
It's fair.
Honorable mention. That's all I wanted. I was just trying to do an honorable mention. That's all I was trying to do. All right. I want to bring this up. Dove Kleiman put this out. He's kind of a scumbag is what I've heard. But regardless, he put out the Bears and Jags are teams to watch for Vikings Danielle Hunter, who is set to hit free agency. And this wasn't per Dove. This is per Jeremy Fowler of ESPN's senior NFL reporter. So he put out there that the Bears and Jags are, quote, teams to watch, end quote, for the Viking star defensive end, Danielle Hunter. And we had this conversation yesterday. Brad Holmes' approach to free agency. And I don't know how true this report is. Seems like it's a credible source. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. He's got a lot of followers. He's very reputable. Like Danielle Hunter in Detroit. Like, let's not get it twisted. Like what he would mean for this team. Like that man was a defensive player of the year candidate.
Dog.
Him and Hutch with Aleem McNeil, those guys would cause problems. And this is what I mean by when we brought up the CJ stuff. Not that you could still have both. I get that. But if you're telling me, Jeff, you have to lose CJ Gardner-Johnson, but they bring in a guy like Danielle Hunter and he gets paid. Like, I'm interested. I don't know if Brad would do this because I stand on what I said yesterday. I just don't know if Brad's going to drop max money in free agency. I don't think he will. Maybe he proves me wrong. But from what I've heard from Brad, I don't know if he'll do this. I know Chicago. I know Jacksonville. They're going to be aggressive. But what's your guys' first just thoughts on a guy like Danielle Hunter being a free agent and whether or not the Lions should bring him in?
Well, first of all, I want to say this: if the Bears is one of the teams, I'm kind of interested with the situation when it comes to the Bears because they have spent so much money on this defense. Do you guys really think there's a chance they bring in Danielle Hunter?
No,
because they've spent so much money for their. I don't know. I don't know how credible.
Both Bears.
Yeah, they've spent so much money on that defense. Like to bring in a Danielle Hunter, it's just like how much. Like, are you just going to use all of your cap on
money?
Defense?
They have.
I guess they do, but like, dude, they've spent so much on that side of the ball. And if you're going to draft Caleb Williams, you probably should save money on the other side of the ball to spend, on the opposite side. So I don't see that happening. But I don't know what the price range would be. I'm all in on bringing it. I know a lot of people in the chat. A lot of people are all in on bringing Danielle Hunter in. Imagine Danielle Hunter lining up week 1 with Danielle Hunter and Aiden Hutchinson, 2 of the best in the league. Come week 1, like that would be a game. I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Just like that's the best probably 1-2 punch in the NFL at that point. And I think I wouldn't mind Dan spending the money. And I know we don't want to sit here and spend money because you have to extend guys. I think you can extend guys this year to a way to where you can still bring Danielle Hunter in. I think Brad could do that. I truly do.
Well, here's the spin on things.
Spin it.
Jacksonville's interested in Danielle Hunter. There's no way in hell they can sign Danielle Hunter and keep Josh Allen. So if they want to do that game, then see you, Josh Allen. Now he's a free agent. But I think pay-wise, they're going to be in the same category. So I think you could just use this for multiple players. Yes, I think the Detroit Lions need one of these guys as far as wanting to have a top 2. Even I think you could say it would be top 1 edge rushing duo. But do I see it actually happening? No. I think that Brad Holmes, Jeff, your point, and I still love the fact of, like, if it's a possibility, I think they're more likely to go get a Leonard Floyd type of guy. I think they'll still make an impact, nowhere near the Danielle Hunter, but I just do not see Brad going out and signing some top free agent that's demanding a lot of money when that's just – I think you can find better value as far as what you can do with the team in different positions as far as just going all in on one player. In his mind.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think, like, what would a guy like Danielle Hunter command in terms of money?
That's what I wanted. I would like to know the price.
Like,
it's gonna be between at least 25 and 30.
And that, to me, like, that doesn't sound like a Brad Holmes move.
What would you do, 2 years?
But Danielle
is not going to ask for 2 years.
He wants a max deal.
That makes sense. That's fair.
So that's why if I'm giving you like my thoughts on the likelihood, it's not going to happen. Like I just don't. I don't see it. The only way it happens is if like every team says no thanks and the Lions are like, hey, here's a flyer and he joins. Like that's the only thing. That's the only way. I don't see Brad forking over that type of money long term. And Adam put in the chat, he's 29 years old. I mean, and he's a great player. Like I'm not discounting him as a player. I just don't think it's that doesn't sound like Brad Holmes. Like I'm
kind of with the guy. I would love Danielle Hunter, but I am a little bit on your side to where I will say, I kind of agree to where the price rate, you do have to, like, it's not like just this year you have to extend guys. It's going to be next year.
I thought you said you can get it done and extend guys.
I think this year, like in my mind, I'm thinking a 2-year deal. But if, like Adam said there, if it's a 4-year deal down the line, you're going to have to, and the way Brad does draft, you're going to, like, if he keeps drafting the way he does, you're going to keep extending, you're going to have to spend money. If it was a shorter deal, and I don't know if he would take it. It sounds like Adam said in there, like a 4-year, $22 million average. That's a lot, especially in 2 or 3 years. Like you're going to have to keep like some dudes like this rookie class right now. Towards the end of that Danielle Hunter contract's going to have to get extended, and that's Jeff. Like when I say that, like that's kind of you start looking that far down the line. Now, if it's a short term and he's like, hey, I'll do a 2-year with the Lions or just a year and didn't get I don't know, but. Seems very unlikely. It probably will not happen. 0%.
Yeah, I don't think it is going to happen. I don't know if Brad Holmes is even going to give out a big contract like this, but it wouldn't be one that I hate. I mean, we've seen this guy twice a year, and we see what type of impact he can make every single game and how he would be opposite of Hutch, but I just don't think it happens.
Yeah, I think Adam nailed it with kind of his point here. Like, dude, he's 29 years old. Like,
hand up, I was wrong here.
Yeah.
I hand up, I was wrong.
Yeah,
4-year deal's a lot.
Yeah, he wants to get paid. That's kind of like how old is Snead? L'Jarius Snead.
20.
I think he's
24.
Is he young?
I think so, yes.
Double check.
I can't
No, he's 27.
27.
Yeah, like that's another guy. Like he wants,
that's
a guy who wants, those guys want to get paid, till they're, get 4-year deal. Then he'll hit free agency again when he's he'd be 20 or 33.
Oh, we lost Lucas.
And
to be honest, Jeff, if you do think about it as well, we haven't seen Brad in this situation to where he's going to sit there and spend money. I'm interested to see what he does do, because there are some big names out there that are available. So like we could all say here, like, oh, Brad's going to extend guys. Well, I guess he did come out a couple weeks ago and say he's going to take care of our guys first. But that doesn't mean he's like, he has so much cap this year to where like he could still extend his current guys and go out there and get someone. So I'm interested. I think we did see a small sample size last year of him going out and getting average deals. Not average players, because yesterday I said that and you guys saw it. Like David Montgomery, those guys were good players, but on average deals. And I think once you do get that, I'm interested to see if Brad ever does spend money, because that's that big splash, like the big trade, Jeff, you're talking about. Like that's what that is. It's making a big splash, bringing a big guy in.
Here's what my point was. It's not, I said yesterday, it's not about going out. I'm not talking about spending $100+ million. That's not what I'm talking about with getting, I'm talking about making smart acquisition moves that can help your team win a Super Bowl. Like the Niners, they traded a 3rd round pick for Young.
Yep.
He just walks, but he helped them get to he helped their defensive line. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm out on like giving Daniil. I don't see it. I don't.
They do get that pick back as well in the comp pick.
See there.
So like that was
that's a smart move from John.
I see what you're saying there, then, Jeff. That makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm interested to see how that's kind of not like a side of things. It's just more so I'm interested to see if Brad, now that he does have money, because he hasn't had a ton of money in the past, like what does he actually do with it? Like even after he extends guys, he's going to have money. So I'm interested to see his kind of routes on that 1-year deals or 2 years, or if he's going to go long term.
And you guys have when we talk about free agency, we did a free agency segment a week or two ago, and you can check that out. It's on our YouTube page still. And people liked it. We talked about Leonard Floyd, and that was someone I brought up, and Lucas and me are in lockstep. I know you guys probably are in lockstep as well with it. Like that's like an affordable, short-term guy that can come in and help you right now.
Yep.
Like that's like a move I see Brad kind of doing.
That's what he did last year too.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's how I see it happen. Maybe, and then I do think there will be a trade this season. At the deadline, like Mike said, I don't think it's at the beginning. It'll be probably towards the trade deadline, but I could see Brad doing that. But yeah, in terms of like free agency acquisitions, I think it'll be smart, short-term contracts, like not tied up, because you can't be tied up. You got to pay guys, that are coming up in the next couple of years, if not this offseason.
Remember the Demont deal, fellas. That was a 3-year deal as well. So like, I wouldn't be surprised if like some of these average contracts he goes out and gives are 2 or 3 year deals as well. Same with Cam Sutton, 3-year deal. So like I still think I'm leaning more so to the side where Brad makes he gets good players on average deals, and whether it's a 2 or 3 or just a 1-year deal.
Yeah, look at this. Adam's been on the DJ Reed train. Dream situation is the Jets fall apart and Detroit gives up 2 2s for DJ Reed. I mean,
he wouldn't even take 2 seconds.
Yeah, I don't think he would either.
He would take probably a second or a third. I love him.
And that's where we get back to the argument we had, Booner. Like, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. Like, I'm cool with that. Like,
that's just one of the, I wouldn't be mad at it. But like, like if he did do it and it happened, I'd be like, here we go, boys. Like, let's go.
Like the Booner Pat, that's the Booner Pat. Like, you got to, if you want a Super Bowl, like if you want them to they get better, I'm cool with it. I'm cool. No, I'm not saying trade the whole farm, like just a 1 or 2 picks. Like,
2 for 6.
And we kind of did that yesterday with the Hassan Reddick deal on our PFF mock draft, which didn't even end up happening because Hassan Reddick didn't even request a trade, but that was fun.
I just thought we did post that on our socials, and like 12 hours later, he came out and he was like, "Yeah, no, not going." He might have seen our mock draft. He was like, "I'm not doing that, boys."
He had to clear up the rumors after our pod yesterday. He's like, "This shit ain't happening."
Yeah. All right, let's get into mailbag. We got our first question here. Cali Max mailbag. What is more likely to happen next season? Hutch 15 plus sacks or Gibbs 15 plus TDs? I think this is easy for me. It's Hutch 15.
I think I think he gets 15 too next year.
Too many cooks in the kitchen to get 15 TDs.
Yeah.
He had 14 this year total with the playoffs.
Probably, but if you're counting Hutch for playoffs, you could say
Gibbs,
you got to give Hutch more sacks.
I'm just saying, like he almost got to 15 in 20 games. I think next year he gets to 15.
And that was Hutch. What did Hutch have this year? 11 and a half?
Yeah.
That's like a month without a sack to like a month and a half. Imagine.
And that's without a bad defense. That's with the bad defensive line.
And secondary.
True. Yeah, no, you guys are right. Let's see here. ETN mailbag. Who's the most overrated player in the NFL to you? There's some good ones.
Kyler Murray. I'll say it again. Kyler Murray. I'll say it a third time. Kyler Murray.
The Cowboys as a team.
Yeah, I would say Cowboys. You know what? Can I make a quick statement, fellas? I have a new player. I know we said who's the most hated sports player. Like, do you hate? I said Joel Embiid. I have a new one.
Why do you hate Joel Embiid?
Because he just talks. He's never won a thing in his life. Dude just talks like he's a winner. Oh, yeah. Ooh, that's cool.
He dropped 70 a month ago. I mean, awesome. I don't think Joel Embiid.
He's all about,
goat, but I don't hate him.
He's all about like his own accomplishments, and he's nothing about winning.
But overrated meaning like he's hyped up more than he actually is as a player.
Yeah, no, I'm saying hated players. I'm sorry, I went away from overrated.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm with Adam there. I think Dak. You know who I hate now though? Who's on the top of my hate list is Micah Parsons. I hate Michael Parsons now.
Yeah.
I hate that man, dude. Came at Detroit last year, and now all he does is talk. I hate Michael Parsons. There's just something about him. I don't like him. I've tweeted at him a few times, hoping he would respond. I hope one day me and him just go at it on Twitter.
Austin Eckler is pretty overrated, I think, too.
That's where I was thinking about, but then I thought about it. And I'm like, well, I guess in fantasy he is not like I don't mean in what I mean is in fantasy he's always he's one of the highest players taken, but like in real life he's like, dude, he gets like 2 yards per carry. Like he's not, but he does get a lot of TDs. I get that, and he gets a lot of catches. So fantasy, I don't mean to say he's overrated in fantasy, but like I think the fantasy to the NFL thing with Austin Eckler, it's like he's not.
I was gonna say this one. SDN said Debo. And that's what I was going to say. Not only is he overrated, he's always missing time, and he's getting locked up at least 50% of the time, more than that. Like he's been irrelevant in so many big games and gone on so many streaks of being inconsistent. So what, Lucas? You act like he just didn't have 33 yards and wasn't.
I think. Well, for one, he got
even rushing. He's a gadget player, and he had like 12 yards rushing. Like
I agree with Debo.
He was wide open for his touchdown on one. I think he is overrated in some ways, but his impact on the 49ers, they would be a completely different team without Deebo Samuel.
Oh, okay.
So CMC's carrying that offense.
Yes,
no one will tell me any different. Like he was the only one that was worth a damn on that offense that whole game.
Dude, the Brock Purdy's development with
too,
Deebo Samuel is so essential. Having a guy like Deebo Samuel that you can check it down to outside after he goes in motion that can break tackles. I'm not saying Deebo Samuel's a top 10 wide receiver. I think from a pure receiver standpoint, yes, he's a little overrated. But as a football player, Deebo Samuel is very good. He's shown me that for numerous seasons.
Deebo had one good season to where people put him at this elite tier, and he just hasn't had that season again. I don't see him having a season like that ever again. I think we might have talked about it a couple of days ago. That 1,400, 300 yards.
He'll never have that again.
He'll never do that again. And now everyone he got paid for it, and now everyone just thinks when they think Deebo, they think that, and that he'll never do that again. That's where I think the overrated kind of aspect comes to where he's just he's just a receiver now that can run the ball. And even running the ball, he struggled. You saw that in the Super Bowl.
Boone, I'll agree. And let me say this. And I think Boone and Mike would agree with me. We're not saying he's overrated like he's bad, but Ayuk walked in this year is already better. I think Deebo Hold on, dude. Like
He's a
Debo gets
13
talked
hold
about
on.
as one of the best
Already
weapons.
better.
He's
Ayuk's
had one
taken-
breakout season. He's had one breakout season.
I think where
One.
people put Debo like as a superstar,
One.
where they had him
Yeah.
after that year, I think he's like down here to where he's like a great player. He's not a superstar, and I think a lot of people look at Debo Samuel and go, he's one of the best in the league. When it's like in reality, like he's good, but he's just not at that level anymore, and he won't get back to that. Like, but
And
like
I
it's the
agree.
point to the Ayuk. Ayuk came in and had 1,300 yards like that. Like it's part of it.
Like that. Brandon Ayuk almost got traded, and there was rumors about him getting released on his rookie contract. Brandon Ayuk, he has been a project. He's been labeled a bust numerous times. Act like this man
1,300
walked in.
yards.
Who do you think helped Brandon Ayuk develop and turn him into the guy that's a
1,300
run after the catch ability? Debo Samuel's impact on this team. It's not
Also,
the best
that
statistically.
so okay.
So
let's
he
put that. Let's add
motivated
that
Ayuk
into
to
the.
get
Let's
13.
add that into. Let's say hey, he's a great player because he helps his teammates get better on the practice
He's
field.
great.
That makes
I'm
him
not
great.
saying he's a 1,400 yard. Debo Samuel is a great football player.
How many 1,000-yard seasons does he have total in his
Like
career?
one or two.
Probably one or two. But if you look at his total
But
yardage,
he's great.
As a wide receiver, I'll say he's overrated. But like, if you want
yes,
to argue
as a
weapon,
It's a
football
weapon.
player.
It's a weapon.
I'm saying as a football player.
He was a real
Okay.
weapon when he was
Rushing.
rushing the ball for 8 yards in the Super Bowl. Those end arounds look great. Like what a weapon! You probably should have gave the ball to CMC and stop being stupid.
Brock
Like
Purdy,
fucking
Debo Samuel had
Cook
5 yards
Gentry.
of space
Let
on
him know.
man-to-man coverage, and Brock Purdy overthrew that bitch 10 yards out of the end zone. If he says that, people are like, "Oh, Debo, he might still be that guy." That'd be the national narrative. If he catches that, he would still be. I'm not saying he's a 1,400-yard guy, but this whole conversation about Debo is not happening right now.
So is Debo
It
a
is
not his
superstar
fault.
still? Is he still a star? Is he on
I
that
think
elite level?
he's falling off of it. He's
Okay,
falling
so
off
he's
of it.
overrated now because he's falling
That's-
off. Like,
but that's
all
where
we're
we're
saying.
coming from.
that's
Is
literally
like,
what we're saying. That he's gone from here to
If
here.
nobody's
For how
saying
much-
that Debo
wait, wait.
Samuel is this top 10 guy.
hold on, for how much he talks and where he's regarded, like I think he's overrated. Yeah, he's not bad.
We were just having this conversation last week. Debo Samuel's not a guy you talk to. Debo Samuel's a guy that gets it done when you talk to him. We all had this high respect for Debo Samuel when he's playing the Detroit Lions. And then all of a sudden, when they lose the Super Bowl
you
against
have
the
to
best
account for him.
secondary in the fucking league, we're acting like, okay, Debo Samuel, completely overrated. He's not even a good wide receiver. Like, what are we doing? The
No
man
one
was dealing
said
with
that.
injury.
No
that's
one
He said he's
said
a good
that,
wide
dude.
receiver. He's not
You
great.
guys
He's not a
said
superstar wide
not-
receiver.
not a good- he's just a guy at wide receiver that you can flip a ball around the end around to, and he might make a play. He's not that good of a wide receiver.
Bro, no, that's
These
just
are
what
all
he's
things you
praised
guys have
upon.
said
And in the
alluded
biggest
to,
moment
and
for
that's
being a
why my
gadget
head is
player, he
blowing
wasn't
up.
a gadget player. He was
Dude,
barely
no
a
one
wide
said
receiver.
that.
That's the point. He's praised for being a gadget player, and he wasn't shit in the biggest moment.
Dude. Oh
All right,
my
next
God.
question.
Gentry said we're done with this. Oh,
Hey,
man. Gentry's
when
like the
Gentry-
dad
hey,
of the show
hey,
here, man. He cuts us
accountability,
off.
Lucas. When Gentry speaks up, you might.
Gentry
you
learned
might-
from
hey,
the great D-Mac. So the Gentry
Gentry
let us
probably
know.
lost money on Debo. That's what happened.
Yeah, honestly, it
Because
might
I
be.
don't. Is George Kittle now overrated? He didn't
No,
do
he-
anything in the
He's
Super Bowl.
first
He did
team
not do
All-Pro.
anything.
But
He did
George
not do
Kittle was
anything.
first team
No, but if you're
All-Pro.
gonna say he's
He was the
overrated 'cause
best
he
tight
didn't
end in the
show up when
NFL
he
this
needed
year.
him to.
Lucas, he was first team All-Pro. He was literally the
But he
best
didn't
tight
show
end in
up
the-
when his team needed
Dude,
to in the
this
Super
is
Bowl.
so bad, dude. No, dude, come on. This is bad.
Saying Debo is just a guy is
He's not just a guy, but he's
No,
not what
not-
he was in the
He's
past.
not a jag.
And people
He's
still
not a
put him on
jag.
that level.
He's not a jag. Just a guy. He's more. He's
I would take
he's a-
Debo
he's a
Samuel on the
dude.
Detroit Lions 10 times out of 10.
Are you gonna pay him all that money?
It depends on what it is.
Yeah, it changed a lot. Hey,
Hey.
hey.
No.
Depends on what it is.
Yeah.
I think that's fair for any player, especially with the Lions.
The contract that he wanted, he is not worth that contract that he got.
They don't get
that's
to
why
the
we're
Super
saying-
Bowl without Debo Samuel.
That's why we're saying he's overrated, though, because he had that 1,400-yard year, and then he got a crazy contract. He sat out
If
to
you
get a
think-
contract, and then he didn't perform to the contract. That is
If you
overrated.
think Debo Samuel's still 1,400-yard wide receiver, that's on you.
They paid
if
him
you
the
can-
money because of it. That's not on me. That's not.
because he's
you're-
getting towards the end of his rookie contract, and he just had to. You have to pay him. They have to
Oh
keep
my
Debo
gosh.
Samuel around. They don't make the
The
Super Bowl.
fact
this year
you
without
brought
Debo
up George
Samuel.
Kittle, first team All-Pro, is hilarious.
No, while I was
Yeah,
going to the
well,
point,
yeah.
we didn't show
Without
up to
Debo,
the game.
they're probably not in the Super Bowl, but doesn't mean
They're
that he
without
is.
a doubt
He's
not.
not
They're
overrated. It doesn't mean he's not overrated, though.
I disagree.
Hey. Well, that's where we'll leave it, boys.
Let's do one more question.
Out-
Can we do one more question? I'd love to do one more question.
Yeah. Let's
Shout out
do- let's-
Trisha, by the way.
Let's do one more, Eduardo. Mailbag, if you could interview Brad and ask him anything you want, what would you ask him? In parentheses, if Brad proves you wrong, Jeff, I will buy you a pizza. So you're saying if CJ Gardner-Johnson does resign, you'll buy me a pizza? Okay. All right. Eduardo, I do appreciate you tuning in. That's all that matters. You don't have to buy me nothing. All right. But the question, if you could ask Brad anything, what would you ask him?
It's a good one.
I have a good one. My question would be, Brad, and this is what I've been saying lately, but I just would like the answer. As the expectations rise, are you going to be more aggressive in acquiring talent? Like if crap hits the fan potentially at some point, like if you need a position and you're in the middle of the season, are you going to be more aggressive than you were last season? And I think he'd say yes, but that's the question I would ask him. Because I'm curious what goes on in that man's head, to be honest.
I would ask him if he thinks Debo's overrated, and then after he says yes, we just chop it up. That's it. We're just chilling. We both agree. We both know it. He's a shit gadget player. I'm pretty sure Amon-Ra St. Brown had more rushing yards than he did, but we're not. Either way.
How many targets did he have in catches? Sorry. I would ask Brad, to be honest. I would just say, hey, do you want to have a beer with me and Dan Campbell? Let's have a beer. And then that would be it.
So it's a statement. It's more of a statement.
No, I would ask him, say, hey, can you and Dan have a beer together? Let's set up a time. Let's go on a date.
Yo, okay. Valentine's Day is coming up, Boone. You can ask him that soon.
Yeah, he did just text me, so.
He hit you with the "you up."
you done with your show yet?
Yeah. Boys, this was a fun one, man. It was a fun one. Even though
a lot of fireworks, I love it.
Yeah, I mean,
Adam, that's funny. Nah, I've said very well. It's been very well known. I would love to go have a beer with Dan Campbell. That's like one of my dreams. And D-Mac did say there's a 70% chance that happens. D-Mac
based off of what?
I don't know, dude. I looked D-Mac. I looked at D-Mac. I said, D-Mac, give me a percentage. What do you think the chances are of me having a beer with Dan Campbell in the next couple years? And he thought about it, and he said, probably a 70% chance.
Oh,
he thought about it for a little bit as well.
Yeah, well,
right.
You know what, Booner, I'm hoping it works out. I'm hoping it works out. Well, we'll get out of here. Appreciate you guys a ton. We'll be back tomorrow, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Like always, all week. Like, subscribe, content coming out every single day, shorts, posts on all our social media platforms, which if you're tuning in, it's all above here. Give us a follow. We much appreciate it. If you're listening, to 5-star review. Because man, we're going to be working our ass off, especially now coming up. We got the NFL draft combine, and we have the NFL draft, and we have some huge plans, man. I can't wait to release it with the people. But until then, Jeff Iafrate, Booner, Lucas, Mike, we'll catch you guys. Have a great night. We'll catch you tomorrow.